Hey, let's start the show.
It's March 22nd, 2012. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Joining me today, as always, Norman Chan. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
I feel like Gary Witta. How are you doing? You're across the table from me in your custom position.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I know. We're in a completely different room.
The setup is exactly the same.
The table's nicer.
If we had fake walls around us,
Yeah.
4 walls and
Yeah.
some mold and some foam
Salt.
padding,
Salt, not mold.
I wouldn't, and you know, maybe some heaters and then a really loud air conditioner
Yeah.
occasionally.
The nice thing about this is it's. I don't want to say it's cool, but it is cooler than we're used to.
In many ways,
Yeah.
I mean, this is more cozy. It's more homey.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
It
since
is,
we're in your home.
It is
so-
my home. Yeah.
But wait, pants?
I'm wearing pants.
Okay.
I've been
Y'all pants? Good.
So Norm, you and I have been adjusted. Well, okay. First off,
Oh,
some
and
shit's
I
changed.
know
Oh.
danger of being inadvertently like just interrupted by Ryan Davis or something.
No.
Which is a plus.
Or a power outage.
No,
Yeah.
or although I listened to their new podcast this week, the first episode in their new corporate overlords headquarters.
Yeah.
And they are not working in averse situations. They are in the lap of podcast luxury right now.
They moved up
Yeah, they have
to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
they have the
And
ability.
while we moved to a country cottage.
I mean,
Kinda.
I wouldn't even call this a cottage. Would be an upgrade from my house. No, they have like the ability to take live calls and call people. They had
Oh, I saw a picture of their room with the
Yeah.
soundboard and everything. It's like Star Trek compared to what they used to have.
They have a soundboard that has like slide whistle sounds and stuff like that, so they could do like morning zoo radio.
Oh my god.
It's I mean, of course they use that all for evil. So a little jelly of their new podcast setup. But since we spoke last time, some stuff is some new things have come to light.
New shit has come to light.
Yeah. First off, if you're listening to this and you are a Jamie and Adam fan, you should probably be aware that this is this is Tested After Dark. It's a little bit of a more adult show. So
There's some salty language, but we are attempting to kind of like not. We used to get carried away with that, and maybe now it behooves us a little bit to kind of save those.
We're not censoring ourselves.
No. The idea is to be clever and filthy rather than overt and filthy.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Right.
That requires 2 halves of the brain.
I think that might be beyond us, but we're going to give it a try. Jamie and Adam, we're working with Jamie and Adam from the MythBusters, the co-hosts of the MythBusters, as you may know them, and some other stuff as well.
Unchained Reaction on
Unchained
Discovery
Reaction
Channel.
on Discovery Channel. Yeah, I was trying not to say that, but okay. So that's the big news. There's been a lot of controversy about it. I'm not going to get into that here. We'll probably do a jar time later, maybe late this week or early next, where we kind of answer questions and stuff like that. Needless to say, we've learned important lessons about how to handle that kind of transition maybe a little bit more smoothly. And we're moving on and letting our content speak for itself. The big change for us, aside from, working with Jamie and Adam, which is pretty rad, is that we're doing more different kinds of content on the site. So instead of just doing stuff about phones and tablets and PCs and all that stuff that we do love and enjoy and all that.
And not just instead of, but in addition to.
Well, I would say we've pulled back a little bit on the pure tech stuff and pulled away some of the, I don't want to say it was filler because it wasn't really filler, but from the stuff that maybe isn't revolutionary or life-changing, and added some other stuff into the mix.
Yeah,
so
there were days in the past 2 years where just nothing happened in tech, and I didn't want to write about Twitter. I didn't want to write about Facebook or some startup executive CEO's bonus or anything like that. And then but it was digging into what's new in Firefox.
Yeah,
and those days were grim.
How do you sync bookmarks across multiple browsers?
Or here's some fancy VR technology that is terrible.
Yeah, that's when you'd usually say, "Hey, have you seen anything cool on the internet lately?" And I would say, no.
Those days are grim, but we don't have those days anymore.
No, because the thing I'm finding is that every day is Science Day on the internet. There are papers and stuff published every day, and if you look at 25 papers, one of them has something crazy and awesome.
Yeah,
in
so
it.
I mean, just as a consumer of the site, going through your site in the last week, It's a little bit jarring at first, but you get used to it kind of quickly when you realize it's cool. That, you know, there might be a bit of tech, like an iPad quick look or whatever, but on either side of it is like a story about some crazy Russian laser technology and another thing about how we're all going to live in bubbles in space in the future and all this kind of more esoteric, crazy, you know, pure science and tech stuff.
Everything is moving us toward the future.
The whole site has turned into fake outtakes, basically.
Well, that was the great thing. Like, I always felt like fake outtakes was our little place where, you know, we just kind of gave ourselves license to talk about stuff that didn't really belong in Tested. But now it does belong in Tested.
Right?
Yeah.
Except now we actually have to be informed about it.
Yeah, we can't just make shit up.
Right.
That's what we did before.
Well, maybe.
Well,
I will continue to not be informed and to make shit up.
That's your role, is to be the not informed guy.
Hey, no, no one's paying me, so
you're nailing it, Gary.
Yeah, I feel no responsibility at all to be right or appropriate
or informed.
That too. That goes without saying.
Yeah. Okay. So this is week 1, basically, of new Tested.
Has it really only been a week?
I know it feels like it's been about 3 months.
Longer.
Last weekend was real long, let me tell you. When the site was broken and people were really angry and nobody was.
You've still got some screws to tighten, but I think what's, you know, in the same way the giant bomb community, their community had a flap, and then they settled down when the guys started putting out videos and you realize that nothing had actually changed. That I think you guys are kind of on that same path right now. You've started to get some videos up, and you're still in that kind of transitional phase. But, you know, whatever panic or whatever may have been evident in some of the community is starting to kind of settle down as people realize this is actually kind of cool.
Well, a lot of it was made more awkward by the fact that the site was a little bit broken on Friday, and we didn't really talk about this last week too much. But literally, Andy and Kuntz and Mike Horn and the guys in the Czech Republic. Literally turned the site around in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like they basically took what they've learned from our platform and made a whole new version. So we're one version better than what Giant Bomb and Comic Vine and Screened are running right now of our platform. And as a result, you'll notice things like page loads are incredibly faster now than they were before.
Yeah.
We're like performance on the site in general is a lot better, but also a lot of stuff doesn't work. Frankly, because, you know, they reached a point where they're like, oh shit, we have to be done in 3 days, because we wanted to have the site live as Jamie and Adam were going out on tour,
right?
So that they could, because just so people know, I know a lot of people are upset that Jamie and Adam are on top of the site. I don't want to get into that here because it's not the right venue, but at the end of their tour, or at the midpoint of their tour shows, their live shows, your mom's upset?
No one wants to know anything.
I was gonna say, your mom thinks you play Nintendo for a living, dude.
Yeah.
At the end of or halfway through each of their tour stops, like it's like they do a long stage show, and at the tour stop they play that video, the one that everybody got pissed off about when they said "Welcome to our new site."
Right.
That video is intended for MythBusters and Jamie and Adam fans coming into the site,
right,
from the front, from a fresh start. We should have.
People have no idea who you and Norm are.
Exactly. Probably should have explained that a little more clearly in retrospect. Yeah. This is something that should we ever be in this position again, we will most certainly do.
Every day's a school day.
Exactly. But in the interim, but I mean, they're promoting Tested on the live show, on their live tour and all that stuff. So it's a good thing for the site.
By the way, I like the design of the new site. When I first saw it, I wasn't sure what I thought, and then I realized after a couple of days it was just because it was so different.
It's dramatically.
I was like, oh, it was a who moved my cheese moment.
Yeah.
But then I have.
There are things that I like a lot.
Yeah, I like.
Honestly, there are elements I like a lot. There are things that need to be fixed, but like, you know,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah. For previous subscribers, ads and stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna fix all that.
The fact that there's not going to be an RSS feed for the podcast today, probably. You're just going to hit a download link.
Right.
Making this not actually a podcast.
If you're watching this live, you're probably watching it on Justin TV.
I hope, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how else you would watch it live, actually. Stuff will get fixed.
Yeah, it's just it takes a little bit of time. Andy and the guys kind of took a day or two to catch their breath and get ready to come back in. I think they're going to start working on stuff a little bit tomorrow, but I hope we'll see some big movement next week on both the big things that are broken and the small things that are broken.
Now, the other thing that I like, the other fringe benefit of coming, because sooner or later you're all going to move into fancy new offices.
Yeah,
but for right now, it's kind of like podcast home edition. However, that does have fringe benefits for people like me. Because you make coffee for us here.
Yeah.
I love that. I've got this beautiful iced coffee that you made.
Yeah, and I got a...
I don't have to drink that swill that came out of the machine at Whiskey Media anymore.
Perry garbage, yeah.
This is a big step
up
in
no
many
Kirkland
ways.
special.
Yeah.
No,
Chloe's always here to keep us company.
Yeah, I think she's under the table right now, probably growling if we move our feet.
Yeah.
Today we're drinking an African single source ritual coffee. I can't remember which one it was. It's from Rwanda, I think. I quite.
It's very good.
Yeah, Gary, I iced yours in a cold brew, a Hario liter cold brew.
Yeah.
It went in yesterday about 11 o'clock. I pulled it out about 11 o'clock today.
Yeah.
And Norm and I are drinking from the same cone. So
I'm
That's
not sure I like the sound of that.
sounds a lot filthier than it actually is. So let's talk about tech and stuff. What's happened this week?
Let's get into it.
It's been okay. Norm, what did you learn this week?
What did I learn? I learned a lot this week.
Yeah. Do you want to
I learned
start at the top of the list?
Do we just want to get the iPad stuff out of the way?
Should we? Do you mean the impressions?
Yeah.
Make them wait for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna get to the end. None of us are rushing anywhere, right?
Yeah, I got no place to be. This could be a 6-hour podcast as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Let's go all night.
You're already home.
Quarter October
exactly. You don't have to go
It's all
anywhere.
right.
I'm
for
just
you.
gonna go put on pajamas. I'll be back in a minute. Draw something. The people who make you draw something fever. I played this like a year ago.
It is gripping the nation.
Yeah, but now it's fun because when I played it before, nobody played, and now everybody plays. Like
it's the fastest growing game in history.
The girl who used to cut my hair, sent me a draw something request the other day.
Now the question is
crazy.
Yeah, and actually we shot an app of the day for it. We had a new app of the day today for an app called Frames, actually renamed Frameography.
Yeah,
or something
we shot it on Tuesday.
Yeah, between us shooting it and publishing the video, the name has changed.
Wow.
But we actually have a draw something app of the day. It's going to go up next week. Who knows? By then, no one might be.
Yeah, it could be done.
It could
Out
be
of words.
over.
The bubble could have burst.
Yeah,
we
don't know if it's gonna be a bubble.
Remember when everyone was talking about Words with Friends?
Yeah, but then
I'm sure many people are still playing that, but it's not.
But
it's not in vogue.
No,
currently.
Cheaters ruin words for friends.
That is true.
Cheaters pay to cheat in Words with Friends.
Fucking cheaters.
Well, and of course for because of recent developments, I fear that Draw Something may go down the same road.
Okay, so Zynga brought. Well, first off, Draw Something is basically Pictionary, a turn-based Pictionary, like play by email essentially, but it's push notifications through Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Pictionary. You get a word.
You have a choice of 3 words.
Three words.
Each time. An
Easy,
one,
medium,
a
and
medium,
hard.
or a difficult one. Yeah.
What's the best word each of you have seen to draw in Draw Something?
I was pleased with my Monopoly.
That was okay, Gary.
There's a lot of pop culture stuff in there, like P. Diddy and iCarly are things that you can elect to draw.
Well, you have to pay for those words, I think.
They just keep popping up.
Somebody had Bon Jovi for me the other day.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a guy with blue eyes, standing with long, sandy blonde hair, holding a microphone.
Like each turn, for example, like your easy word would be like cat. Anyone can draw a cat.
But
your middle word might be basketball or something, and then the hard word will be something like anger
or
whatever.
abstract concept.
Yeah.
Sometimes the easy words and the hard words or the middle
Sometimes
of
they're
words
kind
and
of
the hard words are kind of flip flop.
The iCarly was the easy word. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
How is iCarly? I don't even know what iCarly is.
The other thing that I've noticed is that words are easier or harder depending on who you are drawing for.
Oh.
Like,
right,
for example,
of course.
I've got a couple of British friends that I play with, and I was able to use a couple of techniques that I knew that a British person would get that.
Right.
And then other times I had Americans complain that I did something that was kind of more Brit-centric. But depending on, like, let's say that you and I are big fans of a certain thing.
Yeah.
I can use that knowledge about you to draw something that in a way that I know you will get it.
I had to draw a joystick for somebody the other night. They couldn't get it, and I drew an amazing Atari 2600 joystick and Pong on the screen of a TV behind it.
This is the interesting thing for me. This is the fascinating thing that is, I think, the key to Draw Something's success. There's a reason why this app has blown up in a way that similar drawing type apps have not. What's going on?
Fuck. The recording stopped. It's still going. Nope, it stopped. Well, let's see where we have to pick up.
Thanks a lot, GarageBand.
Yeah, way to go.
Hey, bonus material for people.
Why does it just stop like that?
Stream.
The other thing that I've
I
don't want to hear my own voice in my ears.
Sorry, internet.
Draw something that in a way that I know you will get it.
I had to draw a joystick for somebody the other night. They couldn't get it, and I drew an amazing Atari 2600 joystick and Pong on the screen of a TV behind it.
This is the interesting thing for me. This is the fascinating thing that is, I think, the key to Draw Something's
really
success. There's a reason why this app has blown up in a way that similar drawing type apps have not. It didn't stop.
Well, There was an error message, so it would have stopped eventually.
All right.
Okay. Now, why has Draw Something blown up in a way that another app wouldn't?
I'm going to give you a 3 count.
The reason for that is...
What is the reason, Gary?
It's not competitive. It's cooperative. And this is the genius of it, is that I'm not trying to stump you. I want you to get it.
Right.
I want, and the two of us are actually kind of working as a team. And the more we go back and forth successfully...
Wait, that's how you've been playing it?
Well, no, that's how you're supposed to play.
Because it rewards you for streaks. You get more coins the longer your streak is.
You want me to guess your word, and I want you to guess mine. I don't want to beat you. There's no... That's the whole point.
There's no points for being a dick.
The longer you keep the streak alive, the better you're doing.
I've been playing to get streaks for myself, but I have not been putting considerable effort into helping... Oh, so the streaks are both...
But you both have... No, there's no streaks. See, your
streak breaks.
Not made
your
very
obsession
clear.
with winning is actually counterproductive here.
No wonder I haven't had many streaks.
Finally, the app comes along. The pop culture phenomenon that upturns your winning philosophy.
Delaying my responses for other people.
No, you don't want me to fail.
So what's your strategy when you get a word that is really, really easy?
I want to finish my point first.
Okay, sorry.
This is where I think gaming is going as a whole. Like we're enjoying cooperative games more than competitive games. And the CEO of OMG Pop, the company that makes Draw Something, was talking about this and commenting on the wild phenomenon and said this was intended. We expected it to do well because we feel that this is the way that gaming is going. It's about wanting to succeed together as a team rather than me trying to beat you.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I think and that's especially true when you're doing these kind of casual games that are not aimed at the hardcore, that are not aimed at super competitive people that are obsessed with beating each other. It's about both of us having the satisfaction of guessing each other's words.
Well, and it's the antidote for Quake DM and Counter-Strike and Halo and teabagging and all the bad stuff that we associate with
even something like Words with Friends, which is that's still competitive.
Assholes cheating.
This is cooperative rather than competitive. I think that is a big key to its success.
Well, it is successful.
Hugely successful.
Because that company, OMG Pop, was just bought by Zynga a couple days ago.
$250 million.
For rumored $210 million.
Now, that sounded like an insane amount of money until you look at the figures behind Draw Something. And I read a story today which said that Draw Something
just that
is generating $250,000, $250,000
revenue.
A day in revenue. And that is after Apple takes its 30% cut.
Oh, wow. So
that is nuts.
So that means what? Apple's making 75 or 80 grand a day on the app?
Yeah, and that's on one app in their app store. So if you wonder why Apple stock is at $600 a share and they have $50 billion, was it $100 billion in cash? This is the reason why.
I always wondered how you print money, and now I know.
I actually think they're making money faster than they could print it.
What's your strategy when you have a word that you know is going to be... Because the thing that bums me out is if I spend a really long time making an awesome drawing, and then I watch the replay, and you get the word in the first 3 seconds.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
I have a rule.
Okay.
I will not use letters or numbers.
That's a good rule.
I actually had a person who will remain nameless. I had to take him off my game list because, for example, he had the word pool, as in a swimming pool, and he drew a rectangle and he drew some blue wavy lines in it. So I would have got it, and then he writes the word pool.
Well, that's no fun.
So I'm like, if you don't want to play, don't play. And sometimes people will draw something and add a little word clue. Yeah. And again, I think that's cheating.
You can do arrows.
I draw a lot of arrows.
I had to draw at one point Shaq. And so I drew a basketball player. And because I knew the person I was drawing for probably was educated about sports.
Did you buy the right colors?
That's racist.
I'm just asking. I don't have that color.
Yes, I drew him in the appropriate color scheme. And also, because there are a lot of basketball players, and how do you differentiate them, I drew Shaq's number on his jersey.
Oh, that's cheating.
And again, I think that to me, that was right on the line, but I wasn't comfortable with it. You
made everyone else shorter, and then also had like a Superman tattoo.
No, the way you draw Shaq is you draw him at the foul line, and you show brick after brick after brick.
But that could be... And now the other thing that should be mentioned is what makes it kind of easy is it's almost like doing a crossword clue. You know how many letters are in the word, and you have like a dozen letters at the bottom that you've got to choose from. And you can do things like remove letters that aren't, and you can get little clues and It would be much more difficult if you had to just guess it like outright.
And you can remove the trick is usually there's at least 1 or 2 letters that are real low probability letters like X or Z or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Q. Like if there's a Q down there and there's no U, you're probably okay. Yeah. You can get rid of the Q. Right.
And I've actually noticed some really fascinating techniques. One of the great things about Draw Something is that you don't just see the finished picture, you actually see an animation of how it's being drawn. And that includes people erasing their mistakes or whatever. You see everything. And so I'm playing with a guy right now who's actually quite a talented artist. And his approach is to approach it as an animation. Like, for example, like one of his words was vault. And he could have just drawn a safe. But what he actually did was he drew a bunch of valuables, like gems and money and documents and stuff, and then drew the safe over it, erasing the original drawing, but creating basically, if I'm watching the whole thing, I'm seeing a multi-layered drawing being created. So I understand, really cool. I understand what is in the safe.
A time element to it.
Yeah, so you have to pay attention. You can't necessarily look at just the finished drawing.
Well, sometimes if it's a homophone, is that when the same word means 2 different things?
No homophones around here.
What?
Wah, wah.
Come on.
Never mind.
Same word that means same sounding word, 2 different meanings. I'll draw both versions. So I'll like draw one and then erase it and then draw the other one.
Okay.
And then that usually narrows it down.
Okay.
The other reason why I think it's gone kind of viral is that oftentimes the drawings themselves are hilarious.
Ridiculous.
And sometimes, I mean, there are some real artists out there. A lot of people are screen capping the drawings and posting pictures of like actual real art that's very rudimentary, basically like Mario Paint type app.
I think you're thinking of homonym.
But people are creating real art, really impressive photos. Not photos, really impressive pieces of sketching and...
You were playing with David Hellman.
So David Hellman, who was the artist on Braid, who is a very, very good artist. I'm playing with Jordan Mechner right now, who the guy who created Prince of Persia, is a well-known game developer, but you may not know about Jordan. He's also, again, a very talented sketch artist. And so it's fascinating. It's both ends of the spectrum. Like, if you're playing with someone who's terrible, that's fun in its own way.
I'm real bad.
If you're playing with someone who's really good, that's also... And everything in between is fun. It's just a great app.
So good for them. $210 million, $250,000 revenue a day from a free-to-play game. That's the bananas thing to me.
The worry is though, what's gonna be the post-Zynga future? Are they gonna fuck it up?
Well, at least Zynga was kind enough to just buy them rather than rip it off.
Well, they bought the entire company, and Zynga knows that this could be it could be a bubble, right? People could.
I don't think this can last.
There's no way it's going to last at this growth rate. I mean, 35 million people are already playing it.
Yeah, it's going to peak at some point.
But Zynga wants the company because they want access to the new gamers.
Well, they have a lot. They have a lot of. And OMG Pop's not a one game. This is just the first game of theirs that really blew up. I don't think
they care about that. They care about the people who aren't gamers.
Right.
They care about your hairdresser.
That's the thing.
They care about people who never played Words of Friends, never played Farmville.
Exactly.
But are playing this now,
and this is the true.
And they want to get them into Farmville.
This is the true mass market game, because even something like Farmville or Angry Birds or whichever, you still have to learn how to play that game. Anybody can draw, even people that can't draw can draw.
And the thing is, you get sucked into this. It's very easy. There's no kind of waiting, and there's no like, hey, plant your turnips, come back 3 days later, like there's in Farmville. It's very satisfying. And I literally sat down and played for 2 hours last night with like 6 or 7 different people. And was just going nonstop. And I didn't even skip. Like, I thought I'd start skipping the drawings, but watching people draw is the best part of the thing.
Yeah.
It's quite the experience.
Yeah, so it's a great app. I'm a little bit concerned about where Zynga may take it, because they're going to try to monetize it every which way.
Well, Zynga's really good at squeezing money out of users,
and there are microtransactions in the game right now,
but they're not necessary.
But they're not aggressive, and I worry that Zynga is just a greedy ass company that will try and find ways to bleed you dry playing this game.
And on that happy note, let's talk about Facebook photos, which just went high resolution.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you check it out, Norm?
No, I don't like uploading photos to Facebook.
For which reason?
Because I can use Flickr or any other album service that's free.
Oh, I was hoping you'd had a chance to look at that so we could talk about it a little bit. But I'm just going to move on then.
Okay.
I tried.
Facebook is...
Well, I looked at it today, and it's being rolled out gradually. So, like, for example, I don't have it yet.
Oh, okay.
But basically, when you click on a photo and it gets blown up, it used to be those photos used to look terrible. They used to be really heavily compressed. Yeah. Now they're less compressed.
Are they redoing? Did they store originals for the previously uploaded?
Well, I think they do.
Always have downloaded originals. on Facebook.
But what you can do now is you click on this little arrow in the top corner, like a maximize button, and it will take it full screen at its original resolution. So it's becoming they're trying to make it an option for like Flickr quality pictures, but like inside your Facebook.
Yeah. Well, it's always been a shame that Facebook photos have been low resolution, kind of crappy compression.
Well, because 90% of those photos are crap anyway.
Well, but that's always the case. That's the case on Flickr too. The difference though is that the volume of photos being uploaded to Facebook every day dwarfs the volume of photos uploaded to every other photo service on the web.
Yes, and that's their strength, is that if you want just a bunch of teenage chicks pouting into a mirror,
man, that sounds great.
Drunken party photos. Facebook obviously owns that particular market. But those are just snapshots. What I think this is about is this is a move going after Flickr. This is saying to photographers and people that care about their photographs, this is now a viable place for you to put your pictures.
But it's only for friends right now. All the privacy concerns will make it so Facebook will never allow people to browse photos like you can on Flickr. The great thing about Flickr, to be clear, Flickr has done a terrible job of exposing great photos to people who just want to browse and maybe even license photos.
Right.
That will never happen on Facebook. Because of privacy.
It's just to your friends.
Yeah, it's
but
just
that's okay.
Friends.
Well, that's not true. You can post your photos publicly if you want.
Right, but they would never encourage it. That would never be the default.
Right.
On Flickr and other sites like Shutterbug and like 500 Pixels, it's a place for you to upload for real photographers upload their photos and get a bigger audience.
Well, but there's two different markets. I'm totally fine with having a place to upload photos because the problem with Flickr, where Flickr breaks down, is that none of my family members have Flickr accounts, so I can't take advantage. Like they have all the privacy stuff and the share with your friends, share with your contacts, share with your family. But since my dad and sister and mom don't have Flickr accounts, it does no good. My mom and dad and sister have Facebook accounts, so I could conceivably, share photos with them. It'd be nice to share high resolution, good pictures with them there. I don't think there's anything wrong. There's no downside.
I mean, it's not necessarily a game changing thing, but again, people that don't typically think of Facebook as a place for photos because they've always been badly compressed, that will no longer be a concern.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about human bird wings?
I think that's the biggest story this week.
Okay. So this video I saw on TechCrunch yesterday morning. Wednesday morning. What's today? Tuesday morning.
Tuesday. 2 days ago. And when you were over at...
No, I saw it when I was over here still. It was the first thing I saw in the morning.
Yeah, Tuesday morning, 2 days ago, this video popped up online on YouTube. And you sent
a guy named Jarno Smeet.
Yeah,
Smoot.
Jarno Smeets.
Smeets. From Holland.
Of
course. It's always the Dutch.
Created a set of bird wings using hang glider materials and motors and shit.
Okay, so hold on.
And
let's take a step back. There's a site, humanbirdwings.net. It's been published for about 8 months, it looks like.
Yes.
There's a YouTube channel that is an official Google YouTube channel, the kind that has the logo on the bar instead of the name.
Yep.
There's stories on Wired, on Engadget, and a bunch of other places about previous videos that this is done. And the videos go back 8 months and document the process of designing and building the wings, right?
A set of wings.
It is an elaborate...
A set of wings that...
are motor assisted
that would
use haptic
supposedly
feedback.
Allow a person to fly like a bird.
Flap a hang glider like structure with their arms and fly.
It's like a modern day Icarus.
Kind of.
Absolutely.
Minus the wax, though.
Yeah, minus the wax. That's an important part.
Yeah. So the video comes out in the morning. You see it. It's shitty video, low quality video,
480p.
Shaky cam.
Yep.
Kind of thing that you think, man, if this guy spent 8 months building the bird wings, why would he not, get a good camera? But he has a GoPro on the helmet, so you think maybe he just thought, I'd just get the GoPro.
Sure. You were super excited.
I thought it's great. It's great.
You said it was the best thing ever.
It's the best thing ever. It's what we all have always dreamed of, flying like a bird. So the guy takes a little run, flaps his arms a couple of times.
Yep.
Pretty convincing effort. And soars maybe 100 meters.
Kind of like the original Wright brothers flight. Like they just take off and fly for a bit and then come back
It's not an impressive flight except for the fact that nobody's ever done this before. And people have been trying since the Renaissance.
Right.
Well, let's go through the entire story.
Okay.
We then talked about it and said, wow, this...
We discussed it internally.
We said, we should post this as a story. This looks like it would be, if it was real, it would be amazing. And but... we also were a little skeptical.
Yeah.
And since we work with known skeptics, now we reached out to them.
People who bust myths for a living, I've heard.
And yes, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
We reached out to them and said,
extended conversation.
What do you guys think about this? And got a response that said, hey, there's nothing overtly that says it's fake, judging by the low-res YouTube video. It's okay. I think we can post and be skeptical, but also explain how this could possibly work. And so we posted it, and then Jamie, who's an accomplished,
he's a builder of things.
Yes,
robots,
engineer,
and cool shit, and like, for example, the example he gave in the first post is the Batman shoot. Remember in the first Tim Burton Batman movie when he pulls the thing off of his belt, shoots a grappling hook up onto a railing, and then hoists himself 30 meters.
Right. He asked her basically how much do you weigh, and she's like 120 pounds. He goes, you weigh a little more than 120 pounds.
Yeah. So.
Replicated by Kevin Smith in Mallrats, as I recall.
Exactly. It's a brilliant scene. Yeah. It's the high point of actually. It's the high point of his special effects work, I think.
Yeah.
So Jamie says, look, there are motors that produce enough power to do blah 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 blah, all this stuff. This is, I can't say whether the video's true or not.
Right.
But technically speaking, this is something that is not outside the realm of possibility given today's composite materials and motors and batteries and all that stuff. Writes up a good post for the story, posts it, talks to a bunch of people. This morning, or this afternoon, I guess, Dutch time, Jarno, whose name is actually something else, comes clean and says, look, the whole birdwings thing is an elaborate hoax designed to talk about hoaxes on the web as part of, it seems like a documentary maybe.
I think it is a documentary about hoaxes.
Hoaxes.
It was one of the more elaborate hoaxes.
It's the most elaborate hoax, one of the most elaborate hoaxes I've seen
on the internet. And I mean, the last.
I'm always scared. After remember those Crash Bandicoot or those Sony commercials that were shot as like a bunch of kids like just doing kind of almost like found footage shaky cam, with, like playing around with crazy ass weapons, but it was clearly fake.
Yeah.
Like I've always been skeptical about these things just because
those were Jackson Dexter, weren't they?
Dexter.
Well, the last big one I think that got the internet buzz about was the one for Wipeout. Do you remember that the Magnets one?
The TV show?
No. The game Wipeout for PlayStation. They took the magnets and they created that track, and it was fake.
Oh right, yeah.
But it was based on the
oh right, it was the
yeah,
stuff.
exactly, yes. And I thought that looked really real, but the institute that produced that video was not a real institute. So that was a fake video. The last big one that captured the nation's attention, of course, was the Balloon Boy.
Oh yeah, they got into trouble for that.
Yeah, but that was obviously fake.
Well, there were many holes in that one, and they didn't have 8 months of YouTube.
Right. I mean, the thing is, this person went to a massive amount of effort to make a very elaborate, very believable fake story.
Right.
Which, I think at some point or another, somebody in the comments said, look, for the amount of effort he put into this, he probably could have actually built the wings.
Yeah.
And he could have adapted a hang glider so it would flap and make him fly a little bit. So anyway, stories up on the site. Jamie wrote another post today, kind of a post-mortem, and it's up there too. I thought it was very informative and interesting.
Yeah.
You should definitely go check it out. And I'm sure we'll be talking about this at some point in the future. I'm hoping maybe when we get those guys back from tour.
I think you got to give him credit because a lot of people were saying, he was on the wrong side of it because he was defending the video. But what he was saying in this first post was that you shouldn't dismiss it just because you think it looks like CG or could be CG from the first YouTube video. Even though if you watch it, it kind of does look like CG.
Yeah.
There were problems with shadows if you look at it carefully. But he was saying that these people put so much effort. If you look at the motors that they bought in their photos and their other videos, I mean, some like this rendering software they use in their video stuff was clearly not like the right type of CAD software you would use.
Right.
But from the mechanics of it, they did their homework.
Yeah, they knew enough about what they wanted to do to make something that was very convincing from a technical standpoint. The interesting thing to me is that the people who are into CG looked at the video and were immediately like, "Oh, here's the keyframe where they switched from the CG one from the physical one to the CG one. Here's the green screen guy that was superimposed that covers the cut, etc." Thanks, Chloe, for barking. I think you might need to go out or something.
It's probably a good thing that they didn't have YouTube like in the early 20th century. Like if the Wright brothers had posted a video of their first flight at Kitty Hawk, like there'd be people all in the comments going, "This is fake."
Yeah, exactly.
This is bullshit.
So
mechanical bird.
Yeah. To be continued. Hopefully,
all like high on opium and stuff, posting on YouTube.
Oh. Wow, those were the days. You get your YouTube opium den, just chilling out down there. That's a terrible idea. This is this is so. Yeah. Why would you have computers in an opium den?
Dude, I'm so high on opium right now.
And watching YouTube.
Yeah,
I think today it's Panda Express.
I'm hoping we can sit down with the guys when they're back from tour and talk about this stuff in more depth.
Here's my
really
question:
interesting.
If what Jamie says is true, which he's obviously an extremely smart guy, I no reason to doubt him. If he says that technically all this could be done, why hasn't it been done?
Because this guy was a CG artist.
No, but why hasn't someone else done it? If it's theoretically possible if Jamie can look at that and say, yes, someone could theoretically do this based with these resources and this basic approach to the technology, why hasn't someone actually done it?
I'd say probably nobody thought it could be. I mean, maybe that nobody put the pieces together.
It sounds like something.
It may be
should test.
It may be that this is something. This is the first step.
Okay.
That this hoax will.
Hey, for the first time in history, a hoax would actually maybe have a positive impact.
Well,
it might inspire someone to actually do it.
The Piltdown
that
Man
would be
had a
such
positive
an egg
impact.
on
Did it?
the CG guy's face because he spent so much money and effort creating this hoax, and yes, he got attention, but the people that if it turns out someone actually does it, the people that do it will get so much more credibility.
I still think the best hoax of the last 100 years is the Hitler Diaries. Fantastic.
I think Chloe's going to go into the other room now. Hold on. What's the Hitler Diaries?
You never heard about the Hitler Diaries?
No.
So in
Hold
the
on, okay, go ahead.
it's not going to. Don't worry, we're not going to.
Okay.
I think it was in the 1980s. There was a guy who claimed to have discovered Hitler's diaries.
Okay.
And they were.
Is this like Al Capone's vault?
Basically, tried to sell them to an august British newspaper. I think it was the Sunday Times.
Okay.
And they had some top historians come in and review these documents.
And they looked at like the actual paper and dated
they
it
were
and all
the
that kind of
originals. They were all in Hitler's German handwriting, and graphologists came in, and carbon dating people came in and looked at the pages and said, these are all, and top historians that were experts in Hitler and World War II and whatever came in and said, these are the real thing. And the Sunday Times ran them, and it was a big story. Almost as big as the story a couple of weeks later when it was revealed that they were in fact all completely fine. And the reputation of the historians and people that signed off on them never recovered. Like people looked really bad.
Done.
Yeah.
I love reading those stories because like the best fakes when somebody comes up and gets 200-year-old paper to generate a fake piece of art or something like that. It's always really interesting.
Well, and the thing is, this guy apparently had just taken paper and just, thrown bleach at it and just.
It wasn't even old paper.
Well, no, he had. It was all, and that was the thing. It was all like kitchen sink techniques, but it fooled all these experts in history. There's a great book about it called "Selling Hitler," which is all about how he did it and how people were fooled and what the fallout was. It's a great story.
I'll have to check it out.
The guy who got the photo album from the Eagle's Nest, that's real, right? I care about because that's remember in Band of Brothers last episode.
Yeah, I think that was real.
Okay,
but you think there's so many ways you can get tripped up, either on the dating of the paper or the handwriting
or the ink.
This is inconsistent with Hitler's other writings, or all kinds of things that he passed all these tests.
The fact that you use 60s slang in your Hitler diaries.
Yeah,
groovy, man.
It was an interesting story.
Yeah, talked about how awesome Harry Truman was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fascinating. The FAA is going to review electronics use in airplanes during takeoff and landing.
Oh, thank goodness.
As we all know, the greatest travesty of the 21st century is that you cannot use your Kindle while the airplane is taking off, but you can use a traditional book.
You can use a book. You can use you can't use a calculator, actually.
Nope.
You can use a razor.
Can you use your electric wristwatch? Your digital wristwatch?
You can use your digital
wristwatch. Can you calculate on that if it has a calculator on it?
That is a very good question.
These are the hard-hitting questions that we're going to find out.
So Nick Bilton from the New York Times has made it a habit to bug the FAA occasionally about this.
He hates magazines.
Well, maybe he just loves his Kindle
that
much.
Those 20 minutes are the last time that's the last bastion of the magazine and the printed book.
It's actually the irony of it is that takeoff and landing is when I'm most anxious on a flight, and that's when I most want to be distracted.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, I don't carry around physical newspapers or books. I want to read my Kindle or my iPad or something. No, thank God for SkyMall.
Yeah.
I always stop in that bookstore in the United Terminal and pick up a magazine. Even if, I have the digital version of Wired on my iPad. Right. I will usually grab a copy of Wired or The Atlantic or something like that and carry it with me so I have some stuff to read during takeoff and landing.
So is this the beginning of the FAA relaxing these rules?
I don't know, Norm. Is it?
Well, what the FAA, the reps said to Nick Bilton when he actually bugged them last week about it was that, yes, we're actually going to finally review what electronics in the modern era could be used on an airplane and explain what the problem was and why there's been a holdup. So the last time they did a review was in 2006, and that's when they...
That's pre-iPhone, right?
That is... No, it's...
pre-iPhone.
Yeah, pre-iPhone, pre-tablets, pre-Kindle, I think. And they basically said, cell phone's bad, Wi-Fi okay. And that's why we have Wi-Fi on airplanes.
Well, I like Wi-Fi on
Not during
airplanes.
takeoff and landing, though. Again, they tell you they want the whole device off.
So the reason it takes so long to get these devices approved is that for them to approve something like an iPad, they would have to test every variation of the iPad, every model, on an empty flight with no passengers on every single type of commercial airplane.
Right.
And not just every type, but every configuration.
And
too, right?
I understand why they're super cautious about this, because if one day an iPad does bring down an airplane, everyone's getting fired. You know, you don't want to be the guy that didn't do.
Yeah, because that's the real tragedy if an airplane crashes, is that somebody gets fired. Yeah, no, it's bad news.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, but on the other hand, electric interference is something something we understand fairly well.
Yeah.
It seems like, and that's
and people chimed in, people who are pilots and people who fly their own small planes, and say they can notice, cell phones definitely have some effect on communications equipment.
We've talked about this before. Like the FAA has for a long time given multiple reasons, or actually they've not given reasons, but there have been multiple theories about the reasons for this. One is they want people to have full attention during the takeoff and landing procedure in case you need to evacuate the plane quickly, right? That's clearly not the case, because otherwise they'd walk around and wake up all the people that are sleeping during landing and all that stuff. The other is that it causes interference with the avionics or the communications equipment, which I guess is possible.
There have been many tests done with lots of different cell phones.
Yeah,
and they've never obviously had an incident where a cell phone has brought down a plane.
Well, and
they've heard the interference.
People will use anecdotal information, say, "Oh, well, I used my cell phone during a landing one time and nothing happens." Like, yeah, but that one time. But again, if suddenly everyone's doing it during landing all the time, who knows what could happen?
So the new tests that the FAA are going to conduct will not include cell phones. They're still putting cell phones off limits, but they're going to try to be more understanding with tablets and e-readers because there are so many of them now.
Best case for Amazon
Pilots
is that they allow
use tablets.
ebook readers, but not tablets.
Is the flip side of this argument that our society is kind of jacked up, that
yes,
we can't even have these devices off for 15 minutes anymore? We start to feel like freaking out because my Kindle or my iPad is shut down for 10 minutes.
Remember at the beginning when I said this is the greatest travesty of the 21st century? I was being sarcastic.
Oh, I see.
I think people are more annoyed that the rules say you have to turn off your devices completely.
Oh, nobody ever does that.
I know everyone's put
nobody ever does that.
No, I do.
That.
Really?
I try to be a good citizen.
Airplane mode.
No, they tell them that's why they say to you these days, airplane mode is not good enough. Please turn the whole thing off.
I was on the flight
My fingers
on
slipped.
Sunday morning, and
is this the one that did the emergency crash stop?
The emergency stop.
Yeah.
And
was your iPad in airplane mode?
It was not.
See, you could have been your fault.
They said, okay, so
way to go, Chan.
The plane was supposed to take off at 7:30. We're finally on the runway at 8:15. It's already 45 minutes. I've already had a 45-minute nap at that point because it was early.
Yeah.
And I could feel the plane accelerating. And I was like, oh, are we stopping? No, we're accelerating to get off, finally take off. And this is like an hour-long flight from Anaheim to San Francisco. And then the brakes are slammed right before takeoff.
I've never had that happen before.
Air. Flight attendant says, everyone stay calm.
Yeah, that's
and then the
good
captain,
news.
and we sit there, and the captain says, "Oh, the computer beeped unexpectedly right before we lifted off, and we're gonna try to figure out what happened."
Oh shit! And then they canceled the flight entirely,
and then
right?
They canceled the flight entirely.
Yeah, all because of airplane mode.
At the end of the day, it's often an inconvenience. But I would always rather them err on the side of caution. If something weird bleeps, I'd much rather the captain say, like, we should probably check that out, rather than I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Well,
if it goes bad, we'll circle around and land.
I don't mind erring on the side of caution. I just want these tests to be done so we know. And yes, they're expensive, but there's also a lot of bureaucracy that they need to cut through to actually conduct the test.
Well, think of all the man hours wasted by people in the 10 minutes on either side of landing and takeoff, where they could be, reading Kindle books.
I mean, rather not
saucy
be ignorant.
erotica.
I would rather not be ignorant about it.
I mean, you notice it. When you and I'm as guilty as anyone else of this, but you notice it when you land and you see suddenly, the second they hit the ground, everyone gets their iPhone out or whatever their device is, as though they've been underwater and they're now just coming up for air. Like they've been holding their breath as long as they can. Like, finally I can reconnect to the world.
Now I miss when I fly on a flight with Wi-Fi. I miss that because it's like But if you've been on the internet the entire time, then you don't get that kind of release.
Right.
It's a little disappointing.
And I mean, I love Wi-Fi is the greatest thing on these. I'm always so bummed when they don't have it because, like, especially if you've got a long flight, like a 5 or 6 hour flight, if you've got Wi-Fi, the flight goes like that.
Oh yeah.
If you don't,
nope.
Man, it's agony.
Chair in the sky.
Yeah.
The worst thing ever is getting on the flight that you think is going to have Wi-Fi, and then they get to altitude.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, the Wi-Fi is broken. Sorry for the inconvenience. And
that's when you spend your Wi-Fi money on some booze.
Oh my God.
And then you go to sleep.
But the last time that happened to me, I literally thought, shit, if I had known that, I would have taken the flight that was 4 hours from now to avoid the Wi-Fi situation.
There's a bigger discussion maybe for another day about how we've become addicted to being connected. And the irony is, we retreat from the immediate world around us because we're obsessed with the wider world. Like, I'm not talking to the person right in front of me because I'm too busy tweeting and wondering what else is going on.
You're missing life so that you live life more.
And I'm the worst. I was over at IGN the other day and I was in their bathroom.
You are the worst.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody agrees.
And I will continue to be the worst.
Don't touch my knee.
I was at a stall and there's a guy next to me urinating also.
Hold on, were you in the stall or were you at the urinal stall?
No, I was not in the stall, whatever. I'm at the
divider.
There's a thing.
Are you a phone bathroom? Are you a urinal phone guy?
I'm telling my story.
Okay, sorry.
So there's a guy next to me and he's got presumably, I'm not looking at this, but presumably got his dick in one hand.
Great.
And his iPhone in the other.
It's good that we're being less
That's
overt.
Gross.
And I'm like, that is awful. You are the worst. And then I look over and I'm like, wait, I'm doing the exact same thing.
No way. Your iPhone in one hand?
Which hand?
Yeah.
Left or right?
What? Why would you do that?
The potential for droppage is real bad.
Because what if a fantastic tweet happens while I'm urinating?
No.
I must know about it immediately.
What if you need both hands for some reason?
You know what? We were waiting.
What if there's a water mess?
Gary,
what?
I don't know.
What a mess. What is that?
Norm, is there something you need to tell us?
No, but what if you'll need two hands for one reason or another?
Why would you need two hands?
What if
I think Norm is trying to fake boast here.
Yeah, I know. This is a humble brag. Well, wait, a Paltrow.
Paltrow?
Yeah, she's the world's greatest humble bragger.
Is she?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
My life is so fantastic. I hang out with Mario Batali all the time. Go to Italy.
Okay.
Fake English accent.
All right.
Huh. That's just weird. What? That's creepy.
But people do it all the time.
No, I don't think they do.
No, it's a thing.
No, that's why they have the signs in front of you. You know, the best advertising spot is the frame on top of the urinal.
Yeah,
okay, it's complete. And
I always appreciate when you go to like a bar, especially like sports bars do this. Like, and they've got like today's newspapers on the wall. But like, why would I look at yesterday's news when I can see immediate tweets happening right now?
The best.
That's what they should do. Replace those.
I've seen that with the TV.
Yeah, with like
they do that in
with
Vegas.
like Twitter feeds and stuff.
Yeah, hashtags.
That's more like it.
Did I tell you when we went to breakfast the other day at Cliff House? I went in as we were getting ready to leave, went into the restroom, and when I was in there was about a 5-year-old kid standing at the urinal with his pants around his knees and his hands up in the air doing the butters, like the full butters urination. Have you?
Yes.
Did I tell you that?
Yes.
I walked in there and I almost had to like turn around and leave. Two hands up.
Pants at the knees.
Oh no. Shirt up. Oh, no. Full on, just standing, letting it wave. And I was like. And I went around. I did my business, and I went back. And the kid's dad was at the hand washing place, helping his other kid wash his hands. And I said, "You realize?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think it's really fucking funny." And I just laughed. I just had to laugh.
I just want to say, just in my defense, you remember that whole commercial that was about how people? I think it was Windows Phone. Yeah. Had that whole thing where like the
Season of the Witch,
and everyone's saying, "Really?" Because like they're looking at the phone when
that
they
doesn't make it okay.
There's like the hot wife in the lingerie. She's like, "Dude, I'm right here. Why are you looking at your phone?" One of those things was a guy who drops his phone in the urinal because he is looking at tweets and stuff while he's peeing. So it's not just me.
No,
people do.
You're part of society's greater problems.
I'm telling you, just in a wider context. Like it's very hypocritical. But when I'm at a supermarket or anywhere really, and I see people wandering around like a zombie staring at their phone, I'm like you're doing life wrong.
Well, I do that. I
do it as well.
I put my grocery list on the phone
in the next.
Yeah, but that's not always what they're doing. They just I think there's a really weird human psychological thing going on where people don't want to be engaged in the immediate world around.
I think we need to have an intervention for you, Gary.
Why is that?
We just watched that episode of 90210 while we're waiting for Norm, where Dylan had the intervention because he had a drug and pill problem. I think it's time to have an internet intervention with you. If you can't go to the bathroom without checking your phone,
it's not just me though. Like we've been talking for a while now
about
doing the internet wilderness thing. When's that going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could do that.
We should do that.
I'll donate the house. We can turn off the internet here for the weekend. Gina can be the monitor.
You can't be your house. You're too comfortable here. It needs to be a place you're not comfortable.
You can have internet. You can have internet
here.
though, but it's got to be just internet going out because you want to be able to document it. You just can't have any input.
Well, we could
upstream only.
We could put some of these cameras, put the cameras all through the house, and have like do Big Brother real world style. Maybe we can get Vinny or Joey to come down and camera switch.
I was gonna say though, in the next Saints Row game or Carmageddon, they should give extra points for if you run over pedestrians that are looking down at cell phones.
Yes. Poop snails. That's the next thing on the list. I wrote this yesterday. Was that yesterday or today? I can't remember. Yeah. You know how birds eat like a piece of fruit or a nut or a seed, and then they fly a certain distance, they poop out the seed, and then the seed grows into a plant?
I didn't know that.
Well, okay, so one of the ways that plants spread their seed across the world is by making it delectable for birds or animals.
Yes.
They will eat, like, a animal will eat a peach. The peach pit goes through the digestive tract because, like you feed a three-toed sloth a peach, it's probably going to eat the seed.
Okay.
Eventually, that seed will migrate through the animal's digestive tract.
Right.
Emerge as poo.
Yes.
And then become one with the earth and grow into a mighty peach tree.
Okay.
This is a part of the circle of life.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out it works with animals, too. A couple of different people, one team in Japan and one team someplace that was undetermined, tested snails. They fed snails to different kinds of birds, ducks in one case, mallards, and then measured the amount of time it took the birds to pass the snails, and tested the snails in the bird poop to see how many of them were still alive, and how long they lived.
Yep. And
they live. The birds. There's two reasons this happens. It's really interesting. It is Lemmywinks, except for the other way.
Yeah.
And Lemmywinks was in the outdoor.
Yes.
Two reasons this happens. One is that birds have really fast digestive tracts. They're focused on getting food through, even though it's less efficiency, removing calories and energy from the food. And two is that snails are adapted for kind of hostile conditions because they have the shell and they can do all sorts of things and survive acid and stuff.
Do you think those snails taste better?
I don't know.
Is it like the?
You think it's like the Kopi Luwak?
But for snails?
The Kopi Luwak's really cruel to the animals, it turns out. The civets. Yeah. The Kopi Luwak is the civet poop coffee. Mm-hmm. They feed the civets the coffee cherries, and then they harvest.
I took that from the old office. I have it in my kitchen.
You should feed that to people and don't tell them what it is.
No. I have the.
Oh, you have the poo and lucite.
The poo, yes.
The lucite poo.
The lucite poo.
Yeah,
in the wooden box.
If I wasn't in a purging
commemorative
phase,
poo.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah, it's a little turd encased in lucite. It's kind of gross. You look really bored with this topic, Gary.
I mean, I'd be lying if I told you this is a subject I had.
That's your challenge, Will. Make this interesting.
You don't think
for Gary?
They're not all going to be gold for me.
Imagine
I have a wide variety of interests, but snails surviving inside the digestive tract of a duck is not high on the list.
It's like air travel for snails. Don't you ever wonder when you go to a lake or something, you see the beware the New Zealand mud snail or whatever?
I mean, look,
it's zebra striped and it's a deadly invader.
Look, the FAA story, for example, relevant to my interests. I fly occasionally. I like electronics. Unless there is a major upheaval in the food chain,
you don't
on
like
planet
escargot?
Earth, I'm very unlikely to ever be eaten by a duck. So it's like, how does this affect me?
What if space ducks come?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But that's let's be honest, that's unlikely.
What if we're suddenly out evolved by ducks? Ducks grow 1,000 times larger.
I would say I'm not really a betting man.
I
am,
that duck.
but like I'm not an expert on statistics
or
probability.
The knees?
But I would guess that FAA relaxing rules on electronic devices on planes is more likely than an invasion of space ducks.
Maybe in 50 years we'll genetically engineer ducks to be larger and use them for air travel. Instead of going airplanes, we'll have giant cargo ducks.
Well, when that happens,
yes,
bring it back up on the podcast, and then I'll be interested.
Okay, very good. we'll make you a genetically engineered snail shell
until
then, with you. Moving on. Do you like lasers, Gary?
Depends on what they are, how they're being used. Are they beneficial to me?
What about a laser that burns so hot it ignites the fusion reaction in a type of fuel pellet? 2 megajoule laser. So much energy it could lift a 1 kilogram weight 200 kilometers in the air.
So
what's the practical application?
Fusion power.
All right.
Also,
what you mean, like in Back to the Future, Mr. Fusion?
Just like that, but to generate electricity
or
on a mass
in The
scale.
Saint, where
that was cold fusion. That's fake.
Oh.
Yeah, that is not real.
Damn.
I'm always looking for the practical upshot.
Elizabeth Shue,
theory
why
is
did you
great,
fail?
but I'm always concerned, like, how does this get back to making Gary's life better?
So you know how we waste an incredible amount of energy? We get an incredible amount of our energy from fossil fuels and stuff like that.
Yes,
So we
we
have to
do.
burn.
Yeah.
Or alternately, the alternatives are wind power, which puts a whole shitload of windmills all over the place, which there's kind of negatives to that too, because they're
Right.
bad for birds and
Right.
a little bit unsightly.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Also
bunch of
incredibly
other
inefficient.
Yeah, not particularly efficient. Then there's nuclear power, fission
Dangerous.
power,
Yeah.
which is
Hi,
pretty
Japan.
good. But there's some negative
great.
side
Yeah,
effects,
yeah.
and like the side effects from that take 20,000 years to degrade.
Yeah, not brilliant.
It's bad news. And then
Solar,
of course hydro.
not particularly efficient.
Solar's not real good right now.
Yeah.
Couple of interesting power stories. One is that people over in Lawrence Livermore have built the world's first 2 megajoule ultraviolet laser.
Okay.
So a megajoule is not a massive amount of energy, but it's a lot of energy for a laser to put in a single pulse. And it's one of the things that they think will move us closer toward being able to create fusion energy. So
right.
fusion energy is like harnessing the power of the sun. The byproducts are relatively minor. They degrade in like 10 or 12 years. And the promise is that you can burn water to make limitless energy, basically. So you take the hydrogen that's in water, combine it makes helium, and unlock a massive amount of energy.
I've got
at
to
the
feel
same
that we'll
time.
get there one day.
50 years.
And it'll be the greatest thing for society ever when that happens.
You'll be old by then. Used up.
Yeah.
More so.
Yeah.
The other interesting power thing that we had on the site this week was the thing that from Maggie's book, Maggie Kurth Baker's book, from Boing Boing, about using caves to store energy.
Yes. Batteries are a problem. That's why
Lithium is a problem.
Well, yeah. Chemical batteries, to scale them to the size which we need to store battery or power for cities, it's just not possible right now. So there's an idea that we could use caves to store our power, compress air.
That's just crazy talk, Norm. How would you use a cave to store electricity?
Well, you compress air into it. You use extra power to run air compressors, pack that air into a cave, which is relatively safe, and then release the compressed air when you need that energy to run generators.
So what happens if you dig a hole in your backyard and you hit the air cave?
You would not be able to dig deep enough.
Okay.
They would be mighty deep caves.
Okay.
But I think it's an interesting concept. I think we need good batteries.
Yeah, well, good ways to store energy.
Well, yeah, battery technologies do for. I mean, energy generation is a big problem, but battery technology needs a revolution.
Wasn't that the basis of Batman Returns? Wasn't that the whole thing? Was that Christopher Walken was building a giant battery rather than a power plant?
That movie at all.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah.
Because Selena Kyle found out.
Right. He was going to store all the energy elsewhere.
In what was supposed to be a new plant, but it was actually a capacitor.
And Bruce Wayne did the research and said, we have an energy surplus, so we don't need to generate. We don't need this. But they was going to basically store all energy and then hold the city for ransom and then sell it back to the city.
Yep.
You know what's? I mean,
he's going to play this city like a hound from hell.
There's no easy or obvious solution that's within our technological grasp right now. But I always think it's kind of weird and bizarre that, here on Earth, we scrabble around for like tiny little piece. Oh, I found some coal, or I got some oil or some gas over here. These tiny amounts of like finite resources. But 90 million miles away, there is a vast nuclear furnace, many, many, many times larger than the Earth, which is, dispensing more energy every millisecond than we could ever use in 100 years. And we don't, short of putting up solar panels here on Earth, we don't know how to get really anything from it.
Dyson sphere.
Really interesting you mentioned that, because one of the things that I posted earlier today, so the Mars Messenger probe, which is I think the second probe to go to, the Mercury Messenger probe, which is the first probe to go to Mercury and the first thing to orbit it, or second probe to go to Mercury and the first thing to orbit it, has been there for a year now, has done all sorts of laser imaging and all sorts of stuff of crazy science stuff on the planet.
Right.
There was a good post about that on Wired earlier this week. But at the same time, Warren Ellis tweeted something this morning that was fascinating, and it's a talk from an Oxford Institute for the Future Human. I can't remember some 500 years in the future research institute at Oxford University in England had posted a YouTube talk explaining how we could basically dismantle mercury and make a Dyson sphere out of mercury.
Out of the materials of mercury?
Right, to basically give us infinite energy. It was a really good talk.
I mean,
he's
a
boring
Dyson
dude.
sphere is obviously vastly beyond. I mean, it's so out there.
There's not enough materials. You would need.
I mean, you've got to remember, even in Star Trek, right, where they're 400 years in the future, when they've got replicators and transporters, they encounter a Dyson sphere and they're like, "This is ridiculous."
Well,
even to Star Trek people, like a Dyson sphere is nuts.
So the talk goes into a lot of detail. I'm not going to get into it here because I'll mess it up. But basically, he said if you dismantle mercury and instead of making a solid kilometers thick thing, which is the original idea of Fremantle Dyson and what was depicted in Star Trek. The one with Scotty, I think, the Next Generation
Relics?
episode with Scotty. Yeah. What he's actually talking about is making a swarm of basically
Plates.
just energy collectors.
Yes, it's plates.
Relatively small, relatively light.
Satellites.
Satellites.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so in my
Yeah.
idea, which is not based on any scientific basis at all, other than it just seems like it should kind of be able to work if we had the technology, is to build like a vast solar farm like around Mercury or something, which is much closer to the sun, and the energy hasn't dissipated to anything like the same degree. If you could actually build and shield that stuff and then figure out a way to transport the energy back.
Right.
Again, the sun is, to all intents and purposes, an unlimited source of energy.
Well,
it's generating more energy than we can ever use if we can just figure out how to get it.
Well,
right?
that's the point of the talk, is that he's talking about taking apart Mercury and maybe Venus too to build a giant Dyson sphere that's much like the thing that we've talked about in the past that has an infinite amount of material more than is the solar system is at one
That's
astronomical
a scary
unit.
Future.
Why is that a scary future?
Like, I like where we are right now, but harnessing that much power and with no way to store it.
Well, but in order to leave the solar system, you have to have that much power.
Oh, it's true. Absolutely.
Like that's where you're talking about.
We're talking about hundreds and
is
hundreds
interstellar
of years
traffic
beyond our capabilities.
Yeah.
Today.
But he's saying you can take apart Mercury in about 50 years if you harness the power of
in
von
50
Neumann
years.
machines.
Invest in my Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Dismantle Mercury for the future.
But the idea is you build self-replicating machines that generate, more machines out of Mercury, and then they build the things, and
one of the
all of this stuff is way in
I don't know if you ever saw the movie Sunshine, the Danny.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a lovely movie, and it just got third act problems, and obviously the science of reigniting the sun and stuff is all kind of cockamamie. But
it's the core.
I always felt that it did a fantastic job of presenting, in a way that no other movie ever has, the majesty and the scale and the heat and the light of the sun.
Yeah.
It's like they have an observation lounge on the ship, right? Where they're looking at the sun, and it just seems incredibly, incredibly bright. And then you realize it's actually behind a massive polarized filter that is actually blocking out like 98% of the light. And there's
more.
There's a scene where the scientist says, "Can you let more light in?" And the computer is saying, like, you'll burn your eyes out.
Yeah.
And they're still like 20, 30 million miles away from
Worst sunburn ever.
And he says, "Can you turn it up? Like, what's the maximum? What's the maximum? Yeah, just put it up 1/10 of 1 more percent." And she opens up the polar filter a little bit, and it's just like ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And you get a scale. And, this is when we blow our minds, right? You think about the scale of the universe and things that we can't ever possibly comprehend, like the ridiculous degree. Like, the sun is so hot that it's composed of all these like heavy metals, and they're in a gaseous state. Like, it's not even liquid; it's a fucking gas.
Yep.
That's how hot the sun is, and you can't even comprehend it. But I always thought, for whatever if you've never seen Sunshine, it's worth watching just from a scientific perspective. It gives you this tiny little glimpse of just how insane the sun is, and it's only a medium-sized star. There are stars out there that are vastly bigger and hotter even than that. It just blows your mind to think about.
The thing I liked about that movie is that basically the spaceship is a giant. The whole spaceship is basically a giant umbrella that's just designed to make a shadow, so the place where the people are doesn't
it's just
catch
a
on
massive
fire.
shield, massive solar shield, and they all live behind that shield.
Yeah. It's bananas.
Yeah.
It's good. Third act problems.
It's a good
right,
movie.
good movie.
I think I'm going to go
it.
watch it again. It's a really good movie, very beautifully put together. It feels very real, even though, again, the science
Good music
is kind of
too. Good
nutty.
soundtrack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic soundtrack.
It gets weird at the end though.
The third act kind of collapses. Most people agree the third act kind of collapses, but up until that point, it's a really, really well done movie.
Firefighting robots.
Ooh, see, okay, I like this.
You're here, right? Not only are they firefighting robots, they're firefighting grenade tossing robots. Some naval research laboratory, NRL or NHL or something like that, basically has been working with a bunch of different engineers around the country to design a robot that can be used in shipboard circumstances for firefighting, and one of the can shoot things that put fires out, like out of a hose, water, anti-flame retardants, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It also has grenades that it can throw at the source of the fire that then explode and put flame retardant out into the center of the fire. So they're building grenade-throwing robots for firefighting.
Fires.
Yeah.
All right, I like that.
Totally approve of that.
Yeah, it sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Except for they're building autonomous. Wow, I'm tired. Autonomous robots that can throw grenades. That seems like maybe.
And this is good because, we don't want to put our brave human firefighters in unnecessary danger. And I'm sure these robots can get closer and stay into proximity to fire much
you're thinking
more
about like Terminator 3 when someone hacks into all...
I'm thinking about what happens when it goes wrong. But I mean, they only have 30 minutes worth of battery, so we're probably okay. I mean, you can't do a whole lot of taking over the world in 30 minutes. It's always the problem.
Right.
And then the last thing on the list, traveling gnome. Norm, this was a good story.
Oh, yeah. So you know how Travelocity sent that gnome around the world to...
Yeah, it was a dumb publicity stunt.
Yes. Well, I thought it was cute, and it had a voice, and it was all based on the Amelie, thing.
I liked Amelie. It's whimsical.
Who doesn't? Same director as Aliens 4.
Well, I don't like Aliens 4.
No one does. So Kern, the gnome's name is Kern because that's also the same name as this Bavarian scale company, and they're sending this gnome around the world.
Worf's brother.
Really?
It also means it has something to do with fonts, the space between fonts.
Oh, also
between
it's
letters.
It's delicious.
Just the kerning on typography.
It's a delicious beverage, a fruit-based beverage.
Kern, really?
Kerns.
Oh, and in the South, it was the name of a bread company for a long time.
Isn't that
Kern's
Vern's
bread?
The soda?
No, Kerns.
No, that's Werner's.
Werner's.
Yeah.
So Kern
is
the
a
scale
gnome
manufacturers.
Yes, they send a gnome around the world, and it's been to San Francisco, it's been to Antarctica, it's been to Mumbai, and the point is that things weigh differently. Things weigh a different amount.
Way more or
less, depending on where they are in the world, because the world is not perfectly spherical.
Because the force of gravity changes,
and also inertia based on the way the Earth spins.
That's interesting.
And the difference is like no more than a gram or two at most. But it's cool, and you can read the blog. So the Gnome Experiment, I think, is the website.
Is the scale like super precise, so you can't touch it with fingerprints or anything like that?
Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this because it kind of semi-related, I guess. I watched that video, that Adam Savage TED Talk that he gave about
the education one or the Maltese Falcon one.
It was the one about it was 3 different ideas or 3 observations that had led to great scientific discoveries. I thought it was fascinating.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's a good talk.
Really, really interesting. The whole thing about being able to plot the curvature of the Earth. And
Eratosthenes.
Yeah, and getting within 2% of the speed of light, hundreds of years ago, before we had any real technology to do it with. It's stunning.
I think what you realize is the thinkers back then, because they didn't have distractions and things that kill your brain cells and numb you, like...
You're saying Eratosthenes wasn't getting
like
high
Tumblr,
at the opium den?
Probably, or maybe he was.
Maybe he wasn't chilling on Reddit?
With all that time they have, they were productive. Like, it wasn't like he just sat around one day, he did it. Like... It probably took a lot of time to do all the calculations, but he had that time, and that's what they did to keep themselves busy.
The most interesting thing to me about that talk, and I think this was Adam's point, is that for me at least, it's much easier to learn kind of complex science topics if you figure out how people figured out the first time.
Right.
Because a lot of times when you're in a science class, especially like a physics or a chemistry class, you just get bombarded with facts and lectures and formulas and stuff like that, and it makes no sense. But giving it context to a human world makes it much more understandable. The fact that dude walks over and sees that the sun only shines at the bottom of the well at certain places lets him know that at noon at certain places lets him know okay, maybe the sun is on a different axis. That's the
kind of thing that you thought about a lot of when you were a kid, right? When you were a kid and you were like in a car ride and you're looking at like the way shadows move or just the way water, viscosity works.
Well, right? You know what it is.
You ask questions about the world. Who does that now?
And I think your point about people being able to make these observations because they're not constantly distracted. Yeah. It's totally true and goes back to our, I think if Galileo or Archimedes or whatever had been wandering around constantly with his face in an iPhone looking at tweets, they probably would not, because again, most of these fantastic discoveries start, as Adam talks about in his video, with a very simple observation. But you notice that when you get in the water rises because the mass of your body is displacing the mass of the water. It has to go somewhere. And if you're observant and curious and paying attention to the world around you, that is the catalyst for leading you to these great discoveries. I think that was the point he was making.
But yes, but I think it's a horrible excuse to say we don't do that because of our iPhones. We have access to all the world's information at the tip of our hands from pretty much anywhere in the developed world. there's no reason that people can't be thinking about the same things. And people are. There are people out there who are thinking, coming up with new ways to do things and all that.
There are still great discoveries being made, and I'm being slightly facetious, but the point is, and you should watch that Adam TED Talk. You should link to it from the site if you haven't already.
It's on the site.
Okay, it's really interesting. That, again, these great scientific discoveries of huge proportions start with very, very simple, seemingly kind of like bland observations.
I think a lot of that has changed, though. Like the obvious observations, I think, are mostly done at this point.
Like the one that really blew my mind, because I never even thought about this, was the flat Earth thing. Like the reason why people back in the day who were intelligent knew that the world was round is because all you have to do is look at the shadow that it casts off the moon.
Yeah,
it's round. It's like, oh, look, that's the shadow of the thing that we're on. So the Earth must be spherical. It's the only thing that makes any sense.
Well, but that assumes that you understand that the Earth and the moon are the moon's rotating the Earth and the Earth is rotating around the sun.
Right.
Because it could be something else's shadow. It doesn't have to be the Earth's shadow.
Right.
Necessarily.
Right. But again, if you're smart and you correlate it with other observations that you're making, you can piece together the puzzle and see the whole picture.
Well, if you're smart.
The other side of this, though, is that a lot of times people would look at these things and make dumb observations and then treat them as real. Like the classic example of this is that I can't remember who it was, but some Greek philosopher went to Africa and saw a lion cub born, saw that the female lion only had one cub and that the lion died, and went back to Greece and told everybody that, female lions only have one cub each and then they die, and as if this is the way all lions work, without really working out that there would be no lions left in X number of generations.
Right, no, you can't be anecdotal. Science can't be purely anecdotal. You have to collect enough data to reach a conclusion that makes sense.
It's not like everybody was super smart back then because they had plenty of time and weren't distracted by things like work and phones and
what was the
internet.
It's interesting when Adam was talking about that, he went way back in history to talk about people like Galileo and so forth, and Isaac Newton and people like that. I guess Einstein, right? I'm trying to think, what was the last observation, the last breakthrough like that fundamentally changed the way we look at the world? I guess it was relativity, right?
No, it was probably the DNA stuff that Crick and those guys did in the 50s.
Yeah. Okay, DNA
the information science stuff with the computers that's happened over the last 20 years, I would say, is probably the last thing that's dramatically changed the world.
Well, no, I mean
the rise of communication.
No, I think the creation of the microchip and what have you has changed the way we live. So I'm talking about an observation or a discovery.
Well, but that
led to us looking at the world differently.
So the rise of the microcomputer happened when somebody at Bell Laboratories looked at semiconductors and said, "Oh, hey, this is an interesting property. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off.
Right.
You can change that by applying electricity."
Right.
And that was probably the last. I mean, I'm sure that we're missing something really obvious that we're going to think we're super dumb from when 1,000 people.
DNA is a
big
one, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, semiconductor, DNA. I mean, the stuff that happens all the time, and a lot of times it's. Here's a good one: the ulcer guy, the guy who this was from. I thinking about this because I saw Contagion a few weeks ago, and they talk about it in that. But in the 80s, a guy said, I don't think ulcers are caused by stress. I think they're actually caused by a bacterial infection, and took an antibiotic that killed that bacteria. It cleared up people's ulcers in some cases. So then he drank the bacteria himself, got an ulcer, took the antibiotics to get the ulcer. And that's how he challenged conventional wisdom, which was ulcers are caused by stress, and got a Nobel Prize for it. Or something.
I'm thinking more in terms of just a simple observation that you can make. Like, for example, a relatively recent one that would fall in this narrow definition is like Jonas Salk going, there may be properties to this moldy bread that we haven't considered yet.
Jonas Salk is the polio guy.
Oh, sorry. Wait. No, that's the same thing. Oh, no. So who discovered penicillin? I always get those two mixed up.
Don't know.
Chicken kills that guy.
Though. Yeah. Penicillin guy.
Because you look at moldy bread and you go, oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But somebody was smart enough to go, you know what? This could actually be fantastic. And now we have penicillin,
kind of like,
which is one of the great medicines of all time.
Cooked meat is better than raw meat.
I still want to know. I still want to go back in time. If I ever had a time machine that could go all the way back, I guess you'd have to know exactly where it happened. But I want to be there when the first animal, because we talked about this before. I think they found an animal that had died in a fire, and they said, well, shit, it's burned up, but we may as well eat it anyway. What do you think, Ugg?
Ugg.
Well, yeah.
It's like, I didn't kill it.
Ugg agree. And then they go, This is actually pretty good. It's actually better burned.
The place this all breaks down is if we had a time machine, you could go back to that. What would happen is the marketing agencies would get a hold of it, and they'd take some A1 back and get a testimonial from the first caveman who had a steak with the A1. Be like, oh, A1 makes steak better.
Yeah,
oh,
but there's a potential Sound of Thunder kind of moment there where you come back and now the world is fundamentally different.
Well, yeah, butterfly.
You can't.
effects.
Yeah, you
gotta
can't
keep one foot in the door.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you cannot mess with that. I still think that's how it happened.
I'd buy that. I think that's possible.
Yeah, and then they go, well, look, so this animal died in a fire, and the burned meat actually tastes better than the raw shit we've been eating.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should burn animals with fire after we kill them, and then eat that.
And then fire became a thing.
And cooking was born.
Can fire be nasally fitted? I don't know. Let's move on.
And now we freeze stuff.
Do you guys want to talk about what we've been testing?
I think so.
I don't know.
Wait. I know we skip over a bunch of tech, and people are going to go, why did you talk about the tech? And there was actually a bunch of tech stuff that came out that we skipped over in news.
Yes.
Adobe Photoshop CS6 beta is out. Anyone download?
That's in news. What we're testing.
Okay. Also, NVIDIA announced the Kepler series of graphics cards. That's a 680 series.
This stuff all seems so trivial now.
I know,
we're talking about the sun and the
fire.
future of energy and the birth of
true.
Cooking in the
duck
Stone
poop
Age.
Snails.
And now it's like,
duck poop snails.
Yeah, ducks eating snails. And now it's like, oh, there's a new video card out. Like it just seems so insignificant to me now.
Some people are going to care, and the reviews are out for the 680, and it is screaming fast and actually not ridiculously expensive
and not super and
super
pretty
hot.
energy efficient. Yeah, this is new for NVIDIA.
Yes.
Does that mean it won't sound like a lawn blower? Leaf blower?
I think it'll still be loud. I read an Antex review, and he recommends it unequivocally.
So if you were going to build a new PC and you wanted top of the range, this would be the card to get.
If you top single card, 680 right now is...
No doubt.
And I'm really happy with my 7970, but this 680 looks really
How
nice.
much is it?
I think it's 500 still.
And Lloyd also pointed out that this is the first NVIDIA card that can drive 3 displays on a single card.
I got to tell you, as much as I'm liking my PC downstairs, I don't know if it's completely taking, and I'm starting to think, like, for example, there are some games, like not all PC games are the same, right? For Saints Row and games that run on a gamepad, brilliant,
perfect.
Gary.
But for SimCity and things that are more those lean forward type games, I am kind of missing not having my PC at my desk. I'm thinking I may build a new one.
This is why I have the best of both worlds. I have a wire that goes from the TV to the desk.
Oh, yeah.
And I can sit in the desk for one and the TV for the other. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, you have that's the benefit of a bungalow.
Of a shitbox house, a tiny little house.
Well, I use the word bungalow. You can.
It's nice of you.
I'm just
Thank
saying,
you.
there's no stairs to have to run
cable up. It was derisive. I understood the implication that I live in a small house.
Bungalow's not derisive.
Up from a trailer.
Bungalow.
Right?
There's no judgment.
Hey, I don't have wheels on my house, Chan.
But I'm thinking about building another one that would drive a much higher res display. And also, I mentioned this to Norm the other day. We can get this to another time. I don't think I'm going to build. I think I'm just going to buy one.
I think that's a good choice for you.
I have a proposal.
I don't want to have to build any. I'm going to wait. And the key is, after Windows 8 comes out, I'm going to build a new desktop lean forward gaming machine and a 680.
Buy a new desktop 640.
So buy.
Yeah.
You're
going to build with money.
So at some point, rather than asking you to help me build this thing, I'm going to ask you for your advice on, like, what are the good manufacturers that will sell you you customize it yourself online and then they ship you the machine. Gordon, yeah, but I don't want to ask Gordon. Gordon will troll me. He'll send me to some awful place where
Gordon won't give you bad advice. He will give you shit about it, but he will not give you bad advice.
Okay. All right. Because I don't know if like Alienware or Falcon North. I don't know what the state of play is with those people.
I don't know if you guys heard, but there's something big happened this last weekend.
What?
I went to Tech Shop and learned how to machine metal. I learned to impose my will upon metal with tools.
Yeah.
Instruments of carving and lathing.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
You feel like a real man?
I feel much manlier than I did last Thursday.
Are you ready to climb a tree yet?
Okay, why not?
Okay.
Why are we climbing trees?
Well, if you never needed to cut down a tree.
I don't need to cut down a tree.
Still not as manly as the arborist.
That arborist was pretty manly. I'm going to loan you that book. It's called the Taming of the Muse or something like that. It's about cutting down trees from the top down. So machining was cool. I learned how to use a vertical mill and a lathe. Impressions of that experience are on the thing. It was much easier than I thought. Kind of scary because the machines, they were very insistent about safety procedures.
What could you do with this one lesson before and after taking the lesson?
I could make a piston. I could make like a shock absorber or something like that pretty easily.
Okay.
I could make a circular round fitting that I could use to make, say, a joint that goes up and down and has some locks and stuff in it. So the problem now is that I don't know how to design that stuff because the thing that I learned about machining is it's not like carpentry where you kind of figure out what you want in your head or maybe draw it out and then eyeball the cuts. You mark the cuts with a pen and a pencil and a square and then straight down the edge with the saw. Machining is much more precise. You're taking off like 30 thousandths of an inch at a time.
Here's my question:
of material.
The machine that you use to machine other parts.
Yes.
How do they make that machine?
With other machining.
And how do they make those machines?
Bigger machines.
No.
And how do they make those machines?
The first one? What you're getting at is how do you make the first one?
How does this all start? Like, at some point, something's not created with a machine. So how
by hand?
But the machines that built the machines could have like that. There could be a lineage hundreds of years back on that point.
Eventually, a lot of built. I mean, by hand. Things were cast by hand.
Well, the first, or perhaps you made the first mill with a if you look at the only thing that you would machine on a mill that I'm aware of aside from the gears and stuff in the motor head.
Yeah.
Is the drill bit, the bit that it's not a drill bit, but the bit that you use to actually carve the metal away, the chips of metal away.
Yeah.
Spins at a high speed. It's very sharp, and you probably turn that on a lathe. The lathe is one of the oldest machines we have. Basically, all a lathe is a thing with a spindle that you put whatever you want to cut into that's round.
Yeah.
And then you work on that with a blade of some kind. Wood lathes have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. They're basically just spinning wheels turned on the side, so they're horizontal instead of vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So like a potter's wheel or something like that was essentially the precursor of the first lathe. Potter's wheels have been around since Mesopotamian days, I think. I don't know for sure.
Right.
But yeah, so you use existing tools to make the other tools.
Right.
That's it.
I'm just trying to. At some point, there was a guy actually hammering something over an anvil, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but how did you make the anvil?
Again, this is blowing my mind.
I think they probably heated up the metal and poured it into the mold to make an anvil, Gary. So yeah, that was cool.
How do you make the mold?
The mold's made out of something you can carve with a chisel.
It's just like
stone.
A 4-year-old.
Yeah.
But why?
How do you make the chisel?
Why?
You make the chisel by blah blah blah.
Why?
Why?
This is.
You're asking the right questions.
I'm not
Gary.
feeling good about this new.
Sometimes
truth
the
will come to light.
stupidest questions are the smartest questions. This is why kids often stump you because they ask you questions that you're like, that sounds really stupid, but then you realize you actually don't know how to answer.
Have you seen the Alan Alda contest?
No.
Alan Alda is having a contest to go to the World Science Fair, which is in New York in May, I think. And the contest is describe what a flame is in terms that 11-year-old can understand. And the person who does it best gets a free trip to New York.
That's
a
great contest. I love that.
It's brilliant. Because it's really hard to do.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I learned the answer to why is the sky blue is because I got sick of not being able to answer that question. Because it's such a famous question for it sounds like, it's the classic example of it sounds like an obvious thing, but in fact, most people cannot tell you the answer.
So why is the sky blue, Gary?
Why is the sky blue?
It's been a while since I've had to do it, but basically, when the sun's light hits our atmosphere, it gets scattered into its component colors.
Okay.
That make up the colors of the light spectrum, and blue is, for whatever reason, blue is the color that gets scattered the most, which is why the sky predominantly appears blue.
Does that have to do with
I'm sure there will be people that will correct all the details of that, but that's basically it.
That's the gist.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
So many people saying wrong.
That's not wrong.
Norm, the iPad came out on Friday.
Are we going to talk about?
Should we talk about that?
Save that for last.
Save that for last.
Okay. Save it for last. I want to cover everything else.
Dominion storage. My Dominion storage solution will be going up tomorrow or Saturday.
Okay. You built Dominion storage.
I wish I had them here. I could show people. But yeah, basically, I went to Container Store and with a couple of Dominion cards, Gina and I went, and we looked at everything that looked like it was about the right size until we found something that would be long enough to store 2 expansions or one with the victory cards and the gold cards and all that stuff. And we found these basically trading card boxes. So they're for people who have baseball collections, baseball or basketball card collections, or Magic collections, or whatever. And they ended up working really well. They're just about the right size. I was able to find some dividers that I could buy on Amazon and cut those down to fit into the slots. And then we cut up the little cardboard things that come with the Dominion expansions and glued them onto the plastic dividers. So now we have these sleeves, basically. They don't look like the crappy cardboard ones that you get at a collectible at a baseball card shop or something like that. They look nice. And each one holds 2 of the expansions or Dominion or Base or Intrigue or Seaside, because we put all the mats and stuff that come
very
with the
elegant
expansions
solution.
It looks really good, and it takes up about a third the space of the 7 boxes. So I'm very excited about this, and I think we're going to do it for Penny Arcade Game and Thunderstone and the other card games I have as well, Nightfall and that stuff. Next on the list, the Sony visor. Did you get to try it?
I did. I plugged in my computer. And
How'd that work? That's the one thing I didn't do yet.
I detected right away with my video card. I use that extended display.
Should we explain what it is first?
So it's the. Do you know the product name?
The HMZ T1P.
Boom! Wow, it really is memorable.
Yeah. Who could forget that? It's just like the new iPad, but from Sony.
Sony has always done a great job of coming up with really catchy names.
Yeah, I remember when I first got my WLK UM417.
Yeah,
it was
the variants.
yellow waterproof.
So many SKUs.
Cassette Walkman.
So it's
such a good device.
It's a head-mounted, I guess you can call it a visor.
Yeah.
But they're goggles that have two 720p OLED displays in them, and it simulates an 80-inch screen.
Like 15 feet?
About 15
I think they
feet
say
away.
10, 15 feet.
And
do you buy that, though? It doesn't really look like an 80-inch screen.
I could see the lines.
You have much better vision than me.
Yeah. They work over glasses. You need to have glasses. They don't fix your vision, so you can't adjust the lens independently. And you can plug it into a PlayStation or your cable box and watch TV on that.
I played Mass Effect with it one night.
Xbox. I plugged it into my computer and watched a movie. And if you have audio over HDMI, you can even listen to your movie.
How did you find the fit?
I did not like it at all.
Couldn't get it. Did I send you the video link?
I tightened the back of it. It still was too heavy in the front.
Yeah, you put it on kind of like a catcher's mask, but it is even when it fits properly there's a big pad on the forehead, and even when it's fitting properly and the pad is resting on your forehead, it still is really heavy in the front. I find.
I thought it was crap.
Well, we didn't fit it properly on you, so.
Well, I mean,
you're not in a position to judge.
Sorry. I did all the things that you told me about tightening the straps and what have you. There is if you wear glasses, it's useless. So we all wear glasses. That's a problem.
I wore it with glasses.
You have to wear glasses.
I was able to wear it with glasses.
Yeah, you have to wear glasses.
Well, I mean, that would just be even more. It was uncomfortable enough even with my glasses off.
That was no problem. Once you get it set up.
What I found was it had to be, in my experience, when you actually got it like right in the sweet spot, it looked pretty good, and the 3D effect was good. But like it has to be attached to your face so perfectly that if it moves even a quarter of an inch, the effect goes to kablooey, and it's no good.
So the thing I'll say is I spent probably 30 minutes getting the fit right, adjusting when I first set it up.
Yeah.
Once I had that dialed in, like getting it in the right place wasn't a problem. It just kind of like when you put it on the catcher's mask way, like over the back of your head and then pulling it down forward, it just landed right.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit of a pain in the ass to get it set up right.
Yeah.
And if you want to like switch it between different people, it would be really, really frustrating.
I didn't think it was comfortable.
It's not comfortable.
It's still too heavy to really be, something that you feel comfortable wearing. I didn't think that headphones felt very good. It just felt like I just wanted it off my face. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. Plus, people laugh at you when they see you wearing it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
A lot. Yeah. It wasn't comfortable at all, but of all those goggles I've worn, the image quality on that one.
Did you play Wipeout?
No,
you should have.
I played some Wipeout, and the 3D effect. Again, when you can get it in that sweet spot, the 3D effect is very good.
Well, because the beautiful thing is, it's not reductive. It's not reducing the amount of light that goes into your eyes like the passive and active glasses both do. It's actually it's blasting full brightness into your eyes. It's 2 screens,
right?
And it looked like So Killzone still looked not good. What's the other stuff? I played some other games in 3D. I can't remember. MotorStorm was meh still. Enslaved, same thing. Wipeout looks unbelievable.
What do movies and things look like?
I watched Tron, and that was fine. It was better than with the active shutter glasses.
Is it really how you'd want to watch a movie? Though,
no,
as opposed to sitting in front of a TV set.
You end up like leaning back in a chair with your head tilted really far forward and kind of your chin resting on your chest because you want to end up with a gravity neutral position where it's just hanging off the back of your skull.
And again, this is the extension of what we've been talking about all along, which is retreating from the world around you. It's basically like an isolation tank. You're not just looking at a screen. You're looking at a screen that also blacks out everything else around you.
But think about the market it's for. If you're in Japan and you have a really small apartment and you don't have
I can see that.
$3,000 to buy a 75-inch TV.
Right.
Or even a 50-inch. Or no room for a 40-inch TV.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it
can be a solution to a
then
very
$800 you can plug that into your computer or an Xbox and get your game.
Well, and since the consoles are rendering at 720p, it's not like you're losing resolution or anything. Everything looks really nice and crisp. It's definitely the best use I've seen so far of those kind of glasses. I hope that it's successful enough that Sony will continue iterating and make it smaller and lighter.
I feel like there's potential for a device down the road, but this is clearly one of those things where, like, 20 years from now, you'll be looking at it going, yeah, I remember when it was like this?
Yeah, well, this is the first IBO, right? If we want to talk about useless
there were only
products.
2 IBOs.
No, there were 3.
Yes, and look how far IBO technology has come.
Maybe there were only 2.
Today's IBOs are amazing.
Well, they stopped making the IBO.
I wish I had an IBO.
I'd love to have an IBO.
Yeah.
No,
Chloe.
Nobody ever wanted.
No, I wouldn't want to. I just want it as an artifact.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
as a piece of tech history.
Spent some more time with the Vita over the last week.
Yeah, you did a quick look on that.
Did a quick look at that. That went up yesterday, I guess. It's okay. The hardware's nice. The screen's really gorgeous. The launch games are, like launch games always are, kind of bad, with a few exceptions. Rayman's really good. Lumines is really good. Somebody told me to download a game that I haven't had a chance to play yet.
Apparently, the Little Big Planet kart racing game has a lot of potential. A lot of people like.
There's a Little Big Planet kart racing game.
Talking excited about that.
No, it's not. You're not talking about Mod Nation Racers.
No,
right?
I think it's Little Big Planet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I misread the tweet, but there's stuff coming. Like you said, I try not to judge a system too much on its launch lineup.
Well, the things that concern me about it are stuff that we talked about in the quick look, like the fact that Lumines is essentially a 2D puzzle game. I know they're rendering it 3D, but the fact that there's frame rate hitches in Lumines is really disconcerting.
There's frame rate hitches on a bunch of games.
There's frame rate problems on almost everything I played.
Yeah.
Rayman is the exception. Super Stardust had good frame rate, no problems that I noticed. Uncharted was real bad frame rate issues. Wipeout, I had to stop playing because the frame rate was so gnarly.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing in that regard, but it seems like they're issuing some patches to help fix that stuff. So maybe they'll unlock hidden power.
Hey, maybe they should get Draw Something in there as a downloadable game in the store.
Probably be $40 though. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Again,
Again, and I'm not going to bore people with the same.
We've talked about
that product is doomed.
Norm, you want to talk about the CS6 beta? You've been using it some.
Yep. I installed it yesterday, and I've been using it basically all day for all my image processing stuff. I like it a lot. I was using CS4 on my PC and CS5 on my Mac before. And
so CS5 is the one that added perspective correct cloning and stuff like that, right?
They used content aware fill. Content aware fill was in CS5.
Okay, and 4 was when you could do the perspective correct cloning, where you would like clone in on deck lines or something like that.
Yes, I believe that was 4, and 4 had 3D support. 4 had been perfect for all my cropping, resizing, levels and layers stuff. And 6 really feels like they're just adding a bunch of new features, making stuff faster. It definitely feels a little faster, even in the beta, with a bunch of script tests I ran. And there are 2 big features that they're pimping, the wow factor feature. So, Gary, you know what content-aware fill does, right? So you can select an object in Photoshop, press delete, and then it will automatically replace the background as if you can erase people from a scene.
Right, like in Back to the Future, they just start disappearing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll use algorithms and it'll process the image and figure out the surroundings.
It figures out what would have been behind them and fills that in.
It works best. I mean, the examples they always show are like, landscapes or someone sitting on a hill.
Right.
And because it's grass is very uniform background,
right,
and there's a lot of data density there, the high resolution image, you can easily replace someone. Less so if it's someone like sitting in a room where the background is very detailed, like frames in the background, something that's more difficult. I was very impressed with content aware fill in CS5. I actually have used that a lot. Content aware move is the evolution of that in CS6, where you can select something and kind of drag someone, from one side of the hill to another side, and automatically use the same technology and content aware fill to work. Doesn't work that well, at least in the beta.
Oh, really?
Not that great.
Oh, that's a bummer.
The other big feature that that Rainn Wilson was showing at the Adobe, I think it's
because who is the biggest Photoshop expert I know? Dwight from The Office.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Isn't he a rutabaga farmer or something?
No, it's Beats.
Beats, yeah.
So, deblurring. It's not in the beta, but it will be in the final version. It is the enhance feature. So, if you take a shaky photo and some object, it's a little blurry, especially text. Those are going to be featured in Photoshop CS6. We can just press a button. It will do all its analysis and then enhance it, deblur it.
Now this is something that excites me.
That is a feature I can see the application.
Yeah, that's worth upgrading.
So haven't tested it yet because it's not in the beta. The beta is free. You can download it. It's about 1 gig for Mac.
Does it replace your existing Photoshop install?
It does not replace your existing Photoshop install.
So you can test it out.
And so you can run both, CS5 and 6 or 4 and 6. I don't think you can run at the same time, but you can just close one and launch the other.
And this, of course, is going to have all the same stuff that was in the previous versions, like GPU accelerated canvas rendering and all that stuff.
All the same stuff.
Cool. Comics on iPad, Norm.
Yeah, I've been.
Should we talk about this in the iPad section?
Yeah, it's just an iPad section.
Okay. EcoBrew, Gary.
Yeah, so I mentioned a few weeks ago on the podcast that you had. I know that you disapprove of those single pod coffee
I think
makers
that they're shit
for many, many reasons.
Yes,
one of them is ecologically they're not great.
Yes,
right. These pods.
The main reason is that you grind the coffee weeks in advance and it tastes like shit. Also, they're bad for the environment because the pods end up in the landfill.
Right, because
for
example, the Keurig, which is one of the more popular machines,
right?
Those pods don't recycle.
No.
And not only are you throwing away garbage that can't be recycled, you're also throwing away the remnants of the coffee grounds, which would otherwise be better composted.
Yeah.
So I thought about that, and I try to be a good global citizen. Don't give a fuck most of the time, but sometimes I do.
You're a real humanitarian, Gary.
Yeah. And so I looked into it. Now, the Keurig does have a disposable, a reusable thing, but it's a hassle to use for all kinds of reasons I won't go into. This is a much easier one. It's a little plastic pod, and you pour whatever. Again, you can grind your coffee fresh that morning, pour in a little serving. And it's just as easy as making one of these ready-made pods, but you flush out the plastic pod and use it. It's basically, it's reusable. And it's great. It works really well. And I've actually found myself making my own coffee in that pod more often than before with the previous reusable pod, which was a real hassle to use and can change out every time. So I liked it. So you tweeted that thing a while ago about the ecological
the thing that you had insisted was untrue for a long time before, as I recall.
Again, there is a difference between the Nespresso pods, which actually are recyclable,
right,
and the Keurig ones, which are not.
Yeah,
you can't just lump them all in together like you did. There is nuance here.
To be clear, my main issue is that the coffee is bad from them. Grinding coffee 3 weeks in advance, jamming it in a pod, and then shipping it God knows how long, probably.
And this solves both problems, because you can grind fresh coffee. Like the brewing method itself may not be optimal to your liking, but you are at least using fresh coffee, freshly ground beans, and you can reuse the pod, so you don't have a guilt trip about. Every time I toss one of those Keurig pods in the trash, I do feel a little bit.
I hope you feel bad.
I do.
I'm glad. That's good. It's good for you.
Yeah.
Little shame is not bad.
But what that shows is that I'm a good person.
You're growing.
If I was bad, I wouldn't give a shit.
Mother Teresa, Gary Wood.
Yeah.
Last thing on our list of things to talk about. Alfred, do you want to talk about turntable upgrades? You've been spending some time in turntable again. We talked about it a lot last year.
So just very, very, very quickly, when turntable first came out, it was this huge, huge deal. We were all totally addicted to it. Me, probably more than most. I loved it. It became my favorite new way to discover.
You had Deadmau5
discover new music. Yeah, I was Deadmau5. I was the number 2 or 3 or 4 user on turntable in terms of
Questlove showed up.
Well, I don't know what is the situation now, but it was really about who spent the most time on there, and I spent a lot of time on there, and I loved it. And then I drifted away from it for a while. And I've been coming back to it recently. It's been interesting to see, having been away from a service or a site or whatever for a long time, you see how it's changed. Like they did all the music licensing. It's less buggy. You can sign in now. You don't have to just be on Facebook. You can log in with Twitter, which is helpful.
Yeah.
They added private chat and a bunch of just lots of little nice.
Can you set up a room just for your to invite people to DJ, or is it still who can click fastest?
I don't remember. No, I think there's still things to be done in that area. And there's still a lot of things that aren't perfect,
right? But
it's come along nicely. Go to turntable.fm, and it's a really fun way to discover music with your friends.
I hadn't been on in a few months, and it was really nice. I actually, one of the nice things about working at home now is that I've set up speakers in my office, and I have RDO or something playing most days. So it's been really like yesterday. I just let you DJ your room, DJ my music all day, which was kind of good. It was relaxing. Norm, how are you finding working at home? This is a new thing for us.
I like that it's very quiet.
Okay.
And I get to see the sun.
Seeing the sun's cool.
Yeah, I get sunlight. Natural light is the best.
Now, are you still getting up in the morning and going through the same routine you would if you were going to work, like showering and dressed, or are you turning into kind of smelly sweatpants man?
Yesterday, I was smelly sweatpants guy because I had to. We had to take the car up to the dealership to get the service stuff done on it.
Right.
And that kind of messed up my whole schedule for the day. But typically, I've been showering in the morning and pretending I'm a civilized human being.
Yeah, well, that's what they tell you to do. Is even when you work from home, is that you should do that. Like, don't be sweatpants man, because you're more likely to leave the house like midway through. Like sometimes I try to get out of there because I've been working from home now for many years. And there are pros and cons. And one of the cons are you often spend all day at home without any real human contact, and occasionally I'll get myself out of the house to go have lunch or whatever. It's the whole reason why I do this. Is it gets me out of the house one day a week.
Yeah. Hey, you're welcome, Gary.
And oftentimes I will sit around and I'm like, I should really go out to lunch. And I'm like, but I'd have to get dressed, and it's a big hassle. But if you're already dressed, you're more likely to go out. That's the advice they give you.
I think I can. What I do is I'm push my morning routine back maybe an hour, so like I don't have to take a shower at 7:30. I could take it at 8:30.
Yes, but that's the beginning of the slippery slope.
No, because
I'm 7:30 and you have not taken a shower.
That extra half an hour that would normally take me to get myself ready. That's time I could be working, and then I can take a breather at 9 and then take my shower then.
Well, and part of the problem right now is we don't have scheduled posting on the site right now as part of the new. So we can't just say, hey, put this up at 6 o'clock.
Also, I can wear.
So that means somebody has to be up and mash the button.
And I can wear all my crappy T-shirts I don't care about at the house.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm not pants, but I can wear the shirts I don't mind.
I'm just wearing crap that nobody cares about. I'm just saying it's I don't want to waste good T-shirts when it's just Gina and me in the house all day. But yeah, the getting up and doing a little bit of work first thing in the morning and then taking the shower, that's nice. It gives you a little it's like a morning break. I'm pro that. It's
a bummer sometimes when I have to do Skype conversations that involve video, and I'm like, I guess I have to go make myself presentable from like here up.
Do you do the TV weatherman thing, like the 6 o'clock in the morning local news guy, where he's just like he's got the suit shirt and the jacket and the tie, and then he's wearing a pair of like cut off shorts underneath.
Basically,
it's nice.
Wear like a Flintstone suit.
The problem I have here is that the house is small and the approach to the front door walks right by all of the rooms that I would likely be in, the living room, the bedroom, and the office. So like there's no dodging solicitors. When somebody comes to the door during the day and knocks, whether it's like the religious people or the Girl Scout cookies or the magazine sales guy or whatever, like I can't not answer the door. So if I don't have real clothes on and it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I just look like a real
if it's Girl Scout cookies, why would you want to hide?
Pro Girl Scout cookies.
Although I do recommend not answering the door to them without your clothes on.
No, yeah, you don't want to do that with pajamas on.
I don't always carry cash in the house. Do they take credit card?
No,
because that's the worst. I want to buy the cookies. But I don't have cash.
Yeah, but you should plan ahead when you know Girl Scout cookie time.
You never know. When do you know that I don't think they come around houses.
Yeah, they do. They came around last week, and they didn't have any Thin Mints. It was only Jubilees and the peanut butter ones.
It's funny how your tastes change as you move through life. Like, I never used to like peanut butter.
Really?
And I still don't like actual peanut butter. But I've discovered now that I like peanut buttered flavored things. So like is it the Samoas, the peanut butter ones?
No, Samoas are the coconut caramel chocolate.
What are what tagalongs?
Tagalongs.
So tagalongs. I know, the gamut of Girl Scout cookies. I like Thin Mints and I like Dulce de Leche, which is a more recent addition to the range.
Yeah,
but I don't really like any of the. I
liked the bad shortbread. It was not good shortbread.
Shortbread.
Yeah, no, it's good shortbread and bad shortbread.
But I never liked the peanut butter ones, and now I've discovered that I really like them.
Well, they're a little dark. The chocolate's a little darker. That's the difference.
Do you like Reese's peanut butter cups?
You know what? I don't like the big ones. I don't like the tiny ones. I love the mid-sized ones.
Just the regular ones in the middle.
No. The minis. Not the minis.
Well, you get like 2 in a packet?
No. I don't like those. The ratio of chocolate to peanut butter is all off. I like the ones that are like the size of a quarter, but kind of tall.
I don't think I know those.
Are
those Reese's?
Yeah, Reese's. Okay. They're the ones that come out. They're Halloween. You can buy them at the grocery store any time of year.
Okay.
I don't like the full-size traditional cup, though.
Too much peanut butter.
Right. The mid-size.
All oil. You ever take a Reese's, like the full cup?
A monkey?
Sit it the peanut butter cup and put it on like a napkin.
Don't do that.
Wait.
No.
The napkin disappears.
It's not good. It's the Dr. Nick see-through napkin.
It's all oil. It's all fat.
Alfred, last thing I was going to say on my working at home workflow. So I've set up PC on one side, Mac on the other. I'm using Synergy to move back and forth between the two. So I basically have 2 monitors, Mac monitor, PC monitor, but I'm using network KV8. Well, I guess it's just the KM because it's not the keyboard and mouse is shared between the two across the network. It's really fantastic. But what I've done is set up Alfred on the Mac so that it pulls all of my bookmarks and stuff in, and I can launch bookmarks so I can go to, say, our new article page or our new video page by just mashing the Alfred hotkey and typing tested new article. And I'm right there. It's fantastic. I'd never done that before. Dave has been telling me I should do this for 2 years. Yeah. And now that he's gone and I can't thank him anymore, I know. It's a wonderful thing. It was a really good idea, Dave. Thanks for your input.
Cool. Oh, there's also a cool little plugin. I forgot its name. It's for Mac, but it's a delay for Command Q. I think
what's
Dave
Command
also
Q do? Close the window?
Close the program.
Okay.
So sometimes Command W is close the window. Like if you're in Photoshop and you have multiple images, and
I do that all the time.
I hit that all the time. But sometimes your finger slips, you hit Command Q.
Oh.
It'll close the program. You don't want that.
I like this.
There's a small app that will create a delay, and you can set the delay or set it just for certain programs. So it will, you can stop it from Command Queuing.
That's fantastic.
I've been having kind of the opposite problem recently. I hate Skype for this reason. I think you can, maybe there's a way to change it on PC. I'm not sure if there's on Mac, but I have Skype on the Mac. And if I have it on, occasionally I hate this. This has happened to everyone at some point or another, not necessarily with Skype, but with some program or another. You think you're going to reset the machine or start a process. You go, I'll just leave it. You come back, and there's a dialogue box saying, like, are you sure you want to start the process? And you realize that nothing's actually happened.
Yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah, it's bad.
And Skype does it. Like when I'll do a restart. Like I need to restart my machine, and it shuts down all your programs. I go away, come back 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened because Skype is there saying, oh, this will close down all your current conversations. I don't have any current conversations.
No.
It's just there's a fail-safe in Skype that I don't need it to have. Just quit.
Windows, for those, just if you don't press anything, it'll just shut off.
Shuts down. Yeah. Skype just in general is one of the all-time shittiest pieces of software ever made.
No wonder Microsoft.
It wasn't Microsoft's fault. It was bad when eBay did it too.
I know.
It's been bad for a long time.
Yeah. Skype's not great.
The benefits are that it's free and that everybody has it, I guess.
Can we talk about iPad now?
I
think that's all that's left. We're like 2 hours in this.
We're an hour and 30 minutes in. I guess we can talk about iPad
only
if
an hour
you
and 30
insist.
minutes in?
Yeah, I started recording the podcast maybe 10 minutes before we started.
My goodness, I am so hungry.
Yeah,
by the way.
So we're recording.
Gary, I propose Taco Bell.
I had bacon and eggs for
gross.
breakfast, and I haven't eaten anything since then. All day.
Taco
We had
Bell,
those ginger
right?
snaps.
The famous Taco
Bell.
The famous.
The beach
Oh,
Taco Bell.
I've never actually been to it. I've heard it's the best Taco Bell in
It's the nicest
America.
Taco Bell in America.
Yeah, but there's nothing there for me to eat. It's all crap.
It's Taco Bell. What do you expect?
Well, I don't expect anything. I'm telling you what I
Yeah.
know.
Maybe that barbecue place, Gorilla Barbecue.
Grilla's not bad. I might even be in for Gorilla.
You've had that before because I brought a Super Bowl party that you came to. I bought barbecue.
Should we talk about the iPad?
Yes, I don't want to think about food anymore.
The new iPad came
You're just
out.
going to drive yourself
Yeah,
crazy.
it's bad.
I've been going crazy for the past half hour.
You got it. Yeah, Norm's getting the shakes, but he wants to talk about iPad. I'm going to go ahead and say it's too heavy. It came out on Friday. It's out now.
Mm-hmm.
High resolution screen. That's great.
We did the quick look. We took it
quick
apart.
I don't want to talk about the take it apart.
You can watch the video. I think it's a fine video.
Bad things happened.
We all have one. We've all been using it. People have brought up some concerns about.
There's been a lot of dumb on the
there's
internet.
been a lot of dumb. So let's go through all the dumb. No one has complained about weight that I've seen.
I think that's the dumb thing because the screen is nice. It looks great when you're looking at it up close. It's fantastic for reading text. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
It's too heavy. Like better to do another generation with the 1024 by 768 screen and make it lighter.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I am absolutely serious.
You
are not. No.
It is
so wrong.
It is dramatically.
Now, I don't have the same context as you because I went from one to new.
Yeah, so
I didn't go
this
from
is
two
lighter
to
for
new.
you.
Absolutely lighter and thinner for me. Wow. You would go with 1024 768.
I would go with the 1024 by 768. The big improvement to me is the different color temperature on the backlight.
So what you're saying is you're Tim Cook, and everyone's been anxiously awaiting the new iPad. What's going to be the killer new feature? And your killer new feature is it's a fraction of an ounce lighter.
No, not a fraction of an ounce lighter. My killer feature is it's significantly under a pound.
Then you know
that's the thing that they needed to do.
Smaller iPad. That's
Maybe
the only way
that's
they're
it.
going to do it. And you know what? I think there were rumors that came out yesterday that Apple is buying 4.6-inch screens for the next iPhone.
Blah, blah,
I think
blah, blah, blah.
Bullcrap.
Don't care about
No
rumors.
rumors.
I think what they're going to do is a smaller tablet, maybe 5 or 6-inch, and have that 1024 by 768. So you have still the same app scaling, and that will be under a pound.
You may have been able to sell me on this, Will, before I saw the new screen. But
Okay.
once you've seen it, there's no going back.
I did single blind test last week, Saturday night, maybe Sunday night. I can't remember. The weekend was kind of fuzzy. Gina had control of the iPads, brought the same thing up on the iPad 2 and the new iPad. And then I stood at different lengths away from her and tried to identify which one was which. You can't see a difference on the screen unless you're pretty close. But you can always tell the difference between the two iPads. It's really easy.
the color temperature.
Because of the color temperature of the backlight. To me, somebody who frequently uses the iPad in a dark room, laying in bed, sitting in the living room, whatever, color temperature, having the warmer color temperature on the screen is a massive eye comfort improvement. The increased resolution is great. It doesn't really work very well on the web. It calls attention to a lot of the shitty images and shitty video encoding on the web.
Yes.
And I think text rendering is great. It's lovely. Really, really like that.
It's amazing.
I'd much rather it be lighter and less unwieldy.
I still use on my lap.
I think you're crazy.
It's hard to use when you're laying in bed. Because you don't have the right angle
I've
and the bottom
weight
of the cover is covered.
to get a belly bump.
Oh, you're trying to get the belly. See, I've been losing. Maybe that's the difference.
Put on my belly.
Maybe you've been gaining the weight I lost.
When I use my iPad, it's usually on my lap or my knee or my belly or whatever. I'm not usually, like we've said this before, I'm not usually bearing the weight of it. But even after the weight was an issue, I know I've been trying to be conscious of it. And I got to be honest with you, I have not known. I think if you just swapped the iPad out, for another one which is identical other than it's the weight of the new iPad, I don't think I would have noticed.
We can play that game after the show. We have everything we need to do it.
Yes,
right
I
here.
know, but again, it's not real world. If you put two iPads next to each other, you'll be able to tell the difference. Yes, if you hold one in one hand and one in the other and do this,
I'm not saying
you'll
that.
notice it. But
Not
that's
saying
not
that.
what people are doing in the real world.
What I'm going to do is put you in one room facing the other way. I'm going to put an iPad on the table. You're going to walk out and pick it up when it's off and tell me which one it is. Guarantee you'll be able to do it every time if you give it a fair shot.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is noticeably heavier.
We'll use smart covers and it'll be a double. How about double blind?
Yeah, so you can set it up and I'll set it up, you monitor it, and Gary does the lifting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That works.
But I mean,
testing.
Who gives a shit?
I care a little. You think the weight's unimportant?
I think the weight's unimportant. I think the screen and the battery life are amazing.
While it is
agreed.
To me, it's still would it be great if it was paper light? Yes, of course. The lighter the better.
Yeah.
But it's still well within the boundaries of I don't care. Like it's still well within what I can bear as a, and I'm a pretty
it's not even
weak
like
individual.
I can bear. It's that I don't even think about it.
Here's the thing. It's the difference between being able to hold it like this for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
With one hand.
Without hurting your wrist or hand or elbow.
Again, maybe it's because I never hold it that way.
Right. I mean, but that's the point. Is the way I want to be able to use this device is like this. Like I would hold a book or a magazine.
Right.
I don't want to have to crook it in my arm or rest it on my lap.
It is possible that the
whatever.
cumulative effect
7-inch
of holding it for a couple of hours, it will become noticeable. I haven't experienced that yet.
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I had a problem late last year because I was holding it like this for an extended period of time and all those quick looks that we do and in just normal use, and I fucked up my elbow, and the doctor said, hey, you did this because you were holding the iPad wrong. It's too heavy to hold this way.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yes,
right, and I think that's why most people don't hold it that way. And many others do, and many others have the kind of use for it where it's used like in industrial purposes and for work purposes, like doctors or whatever walking around with it. That's how they don't always have the luxury of putting it on their lap or whatever. They actually are bearing the weight of it in their arm.
Right. If you're holding it standing, it's hard to do and it's too heavy.
Yeah.
That's my, like, if this is going to be a real thing, we have to get them under a pound
for them,
or the bezels have to be thicker so you have better, more gripping area.
Let me introduce you to the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7.
I'll just get a Note, put that thing in my pocket.
Yeah, they can use the stylus with it too.
Okay, so I think it's too heavy. I think the screen's really amazing. I think the battery life's really good. Battery
life. Here's some context. When we started this podcast almost 2 hours ago, I turned my iPad on and it was at 79% battery. And I've been live streaming, watching Chat on Justin TV, so streaming video, and it's at 69%.
I think this is the first time you've done a podcast without your Air since you got your Air.
Yeah, because the Air wouldn't last 3 hours.
Right.
The iPad has reasserted dominance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I find myself using it a lot more. I've actually switched from using Google Docs for writing to using Lightroom because the iPad version if you save your Lightroom on the Mac into a Dropbox folder, then you can sync that Mac on the iPad. So my workflow has been use when I have an article or something I want to read in order to learn something to write, I Instapaper the article, sit down in the living room, read the article, take notes in the Lightroom document on the iPad, and then come back to the PC to do the actual writing.
The other thing
which
that
has
people,
been really good,
I guess particularly people that don't have a 4S. Have really again. This is just anecdotal, looking at people's reactions in the forums and what have you. Is people really like the dictation feature as well?
Yeah, the dictation feature is great. It's not Siri, just to be clear.
And again, as much as I complain about Siri, and it's not.
It's not Siri.
It's not Siri.
So you're saying it's not Siri?
Wait, Gary, think about this.
No, I know what you're trying to do. It's just it's so silly.
I have a whole bunch of eggs in the fridge. It's right there. The fridge is right there.
I'm still hungry. I'll say wrong things just to eat.
I right before I came over here. I was parked outside, and I wanted to make a note. I email little notes and things to myself all the time because I don't know if I'll remember it later. And I was like, and occasionally it's just one line or whatever, and I'll just peck it out on the keypad. This time it was actually like a couple of paragraphs of things that I wanted to remember. So I thought, I'll do the dictation. And I did it. And as much as I complain about Siri, it fucking nailed it. And it is that, there is that little moment where you go, that's really cool.
The dictation's great. I like the dictation is consistently really good. Yeah. I find. Assuming you don't do proper names or weird jargon or lingo or whatever.
Right.
When Norm was getting ready to come over here and I realized we didn't have mic stands for the microphones that I just bought, I was trying to find a place that sold musical instruments, and Google was a complete failure because musical instrument like sales places are completely jumbled up with the kind of people that give musical lessons in their home and sell used instruments on the internet. So it was completely useless, like local search. So I thought, fuck it. I'm going to try Siri. Siri, I need to find a place to buy microphone stands. I'm sorry, Will. I don't understand what you mean by I need to find a place to buy microphone stands. Siri, I need to find a music instrument store.
Why do you insist on starting every request by addressing Siri? You know you don't actually need to do that, right?
It makes me. I like that. It makes me feel. Why does Kirk say computer before he says every no?
Well, because that's how the computer knows you're talking to it as opposed to anyone else.
Button. It's how we address the machine that keeps the machine in line. It's important that we exert dominance over the machine at every possible opportunity.
All right.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
What else? The other big stupid thing that came out was this.
The Consumer Reports thing.
Yeah, it's so stupid. So we definitely noticed that the new iPad got a little warm after using it for a while.
The key word there is a little warm.
Yeah, it's a little warm. Sure. But for something that has a massive 42.5 watt-hour battery, that's not unexpected, especially since it has basically twice number of LEDs backlighting this new screen.
Yeah.
And Consumer Reports did their own test.
They used a thermal imaging camera, which I think was probably not calibrated right, or they dropped at some point.
But they claim that their iPad, when running a game, got up to 113 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is warm, which is more than warm. That's actually hot.
Yeah, it's borderline hot. We did our own tests with the laser thermometer,
right?
And
the infrared thermometer,
the infrared one, and it never got over 90 degrees.
I have just a more general kind of tech noob question about this. I mean, at this point now, the iPad. The phone, by the way, I notice gets hot all the time.
The phone is usually getting hot when the battery's charging.
It gets real hot a lot of the time. The iPad, I haven't noticed it, but I haven't been doing a lot of 3D applications or whatever.
It actually doesn't even happen. It happens. I've noticed it happens because I did the test with Infinity Blade, but it happens when you're in iPhoto. It happens when you're browsing the web a lot.
I haven't noticed it at all.
Yeah.
My question is just in general, like, again, the iPad now at this point, this processor and quad-core GPU and all the stuff that's in there, it's a pretty powerful machine. You know, you think of it as basically kind of a tablet.
Well, it's a glorified phone, essentially, from a hardware perspective. It's a phone with a really big screen and a really big battery.
But you can also think of it as a fairly capable, fairly powerful computer, right? That's what it is.
Well, a phone is a fairly capable, fairly powerful computer as well. Yes.
Sure.
How is it keeping itself cool? Because typically you think of, as soon as a system goes over a certain level of power, you need to have a fan in there. You got to have some kind of cooling. What is it that's
still significantly less powerful than a...
Okay, so they're still not at the level
than an x86 processor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a much... I mean, the reason it feels powerful is because the operating system and the software is intentionally
But
limited.
even laptops that aren't particularly powerful have little fans in them.
Well, does the Air have a fan?
Air does have a fan.
Really?
Yeah, you can hear it.
Oh, okay.
It's
I haven't
really
spent that much time with an Air.
That's my question is why... I mean, yes, the Air is still more powerful.
Because it uses an x86 CPU and this is ARM-based. Right.
Yeah, that's the big difference.
So it's more power efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, x86 is moving that direction. ARM is moving the other direction. Eventually, they'll meet.
Right.
But it's passive cooling still.
Yeah, and the other thing that's worth mentioning is this giant piece of aluminum on the back of the iPad is a pretty good heat sink.
Right.
You know, all the stuff is touching it. It radiates heat.
So remember that Samsung tablet that they had the Windows 8 developer preview on?
Yeah.
Those had fans.
Yeah.
I mean, those tablets have little grills and fans.
It didn't fire... When I was using the Windows 8 developer preview, it didn't fire the fan until you started doing something like watch video. So yeah, I mean, everybody likes their iPads. We're excited. It's a good product.
Yeah, one weekend, I'm still liking mine. I mean, again, the text thing is still the biggest thing. Like you said, it's right now until they update the content, because there's a lot of apps that don't have the Retina update, and like I said, general internet. The text always looks fantastic. Pictures do not.
JPEG compression has never been more apparent.
Yeah.
There was a story about that today. Yeah. Gruber linked it.
When you have JPEGs, even with WebKit browsers, with like Safari, images that are over a certain size, megapixels, automatically get scaled down by WebKit because of the web standards, and so you can't even see the full image.
Yeah, and you really need to see pictures that are intended for that. Just like, for example, like the ABC video player, which is an app that just got a Retina update and is very content rich. A lot of big full screen photos and stuff. It looks phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the text is one big part of it, but the image quality, when the images are at the correct resolution, they look. And the comics app, all the comics apps have just been updated.
Comixology,
right? Comics look stunning.
Cool.
Yep, not all their comics. 90% eventually will.
Are they charging for HD upgrades? Nope. Oh, so if you bought the comic already, you'll get the you can read.
That's actually that was great. So Norm opened up a comic that he had previously bought, and it got a little pop up that said, "This comic is now in HD. Do you want to upgrade it for free?"
How much bigger are they? Do we know?
Yes. So previous comic would be under 20 megs, about 18.5, 19.5.
Yeah.
And new comics are about 35.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Megs. Yeah.
It's not too bad.
I think a lot of people are more concerned about whether or not they can get the 16 gig version though, when they're hearing all this stuff about how the content in the apps is going to take up a lot more space.
I would recommend 32.
32 seems like the sweet spot still. Yeah. That's what I ended up switching out my 32 Wi-Fi for the 32 Verizon. After Gina did it, but after you
went for the 4G.
I went for the 4G because it seemed like $130 is that's like 10 nights of
I almost
hotel
feel
internet.
like I want to go for the 64 to store photos.
Get on there
to make it a photo repository.
We should talk about that next week. Your
apparently the 4G models. There's not been an official SKU breakdown on what's been selling, but apparently the 4G models have done very well.
I would assume so. Yeah, makes sense. So I guess that does. And they sold 3 million of them in the first weekend. So
which is nuts.
Yeah,
I think it's going through the same trend as all the previous iPads. I mean, I saw stories. I think Boy Genius reported a story on Friday or Saturday saying, "Oh, where are all the sold out iPads?" They called a bunch of stores in New York, and none of them were, or very few of them were sold out. And I think people still on Sunday or Monday could walk into a store and buy one. Same thing happened with the iPad 2. There's always that little skeptical period. I mean, Apple has not advertised it at all. I mean, their billboards in San Francisco, multiple billboards, big ones on the freeway, still for the iPad 2.
The iPad 2 billboards are still out, but I saw an iPad 3, new iPad, whatever you call it. I saw a TV ad for it last night. Like, they are advertising it. They just haven't. I don't think the outdoor stuff is up and running yet.
I have to say, I feel like the new has worn off of this iPad. I mean, Norm, you're in a different situation because you're coming from the 1 to the 3 or new, but I feel like the new feeling has worn off of this one a lot faster than last time.
No, for me the opposite is true because I'm still, every time I open it up and look at that text, I'm like, this is nuts.
See, I use a Kindle a lot, and the DPI and the Kindle is very similar. So, I mean, I think that may be the difference.
Photos.
Yeah, I don't spend that much time with photos.
Photos and comics. I want comics on this.
The comics. I'm gonna have to download the comics app and update my.
You like the iPhoto app is something else you've been playing with, right? It's pretty cool. Yeah, I was looking at some of that. Yeah,
journals so fun.
So let's close out what we've been testing. Did we miss anything? Did we forget anything that anybody wants to talk about? Going around the room. Last calls. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to play some music, and then we'll take some questions.
Emails? Well, but we do the other one.
Emails. We don't do emails. We do
emails.
No.
Questions.
Boom.
That was good.
That was new.
I like that little bumper there. That was cool.
So somebody sent that in, and unfortunately, I just closed the mail window, but I'll make sure I give them a shout out next week. And I thought that was super rad. So thank you for whoever sent that in. I thought that was a really good job.
I thought something had gone wrong at first there, but I realized it was kind of a cool mashup.
You guys had confused looks, and I think that was from the last podcast we did in the old building. When Brad sat in with us and did the thing that he says on the Bombcast, and then did the thing that we say. So if you have a question, you can email it to podcast@tested.com. As always, keep it short. Under 45 seconds is preferred, and make sure you listen to it so you know that it sounds good and it's something we can actually play on the show. Otherwise, we won't play it on the show. I have to say this next question is probably the best produced question we've ever had. Like, I didn't even listen to the question. It sounded so good when I listened to the first bit. I was like, no, we're running this. He could ask whatever he wants, and I'm going to run it. It sounds so good.
All right.
And it's short. So here you go.
My hometown is fairly boring, so I'm going to share some personal trivia instead. My wife and I fall asleep almost every night watching the amazing test on my HP touchpad, the very same touchpad that Will signed at PAX last year. Anyway, here's my question. If the three of you were on an airplane right now at 10,000 feet, and you each had 5 parachutes at your disposal, 4 were guaranteed to work perfectly, but the 5th was entirely faulty. For $5 million tax-free dollars, would you select a parachute and jump out of the plane? And if not, What is the minimum ratio of good to bad parachutes that would make you jump? Thanks, and keep up the great Lego videos.
So there's one dud parachute out of 5?
Well, first of all,
I would not do it for $5 million.
Can I just say,
yes,
there's a number of things about this question and this call in general that I'm unhappy about.
Okay.
First of all, I don't get where you're coming from with this is the best produced thing ever. The audio quality was satisfactory, but I was expecting sound effects. So you really talked this one up.
Oh, I was just really pleased that it sounded good and was short. That's where I was, and also it was a
your
silly
expectations have gotten real low.
Dude, it was grim in the question pool this week. It was people. I think some guy recorded from the bottom of a being drugged behind Norm's airplane on Sunday afternoon.
And really, the slight deviation in mathematics, 5 versus 6 aside, really this is just a fancy way of saying, would you spin the chamber on a revolver and pull the trigger?
That's true. Well, if you're talking about like a 45 Magnum, it would be 5 chambers.
Okay.
A 44 Magnum.
Right. And so I wouldn't do that. And so I don't know why this is any different.
It's different because there's the thrill of when you jump out of an airplane, you don't pull the chute immediately. So there's that, you have
a few
there's
seconds?
a 30 second, maybe 20 seconds of
uncertainty and
dread. Uncertainty. It's like as if pulling the trigger on the revolver took 20 seconds for any bullet to possibly fire.
The action of pulling the trigger on the revolver is
but there's no,
that's going to feel like an eternity.
Right, but there's no time. I mean, if you're going to do it with a revolver, you just pull it and you just pull the trigger. You do it real fast.
Have you done this before?
No, but
it's not like taking off a Band-Aid, Norm. You're potentially going to blow your brains out.
If you had to,
you're going to ease into that.
But if you're going to do it, you're going to do it quickly.
You have a very
why would you?
No, in theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you will find this is one of those things where the theory and the practice are very different.
You had to do it, or you would die no matter what.
Yeah, then I go.
Then you just go.
Yeah.
But if it was
if the plane's perfectly fine,
if the parachute.
So are you suggesting the parachute scenario is worse because you're stuck with a period of doubt as opposed to the revolver?
Oh yeah, the period of doubt is agonizing.
I'd play the Howie Mandel game for death.
What's
Deal
that?
or No Deal?
Oh, okay.
I feel like that is such a dumb show, and the chances of beating the system with at least not dying, not a box full of empty. I think I'd do that. Because are there like 25 boxes or something there, and most of them have something in them?
I don't remember.
But something's bad.
It's been a while since I've seen
I always get that and the Kenneth one from 30 Rock mixed up. Gold case.
Gold case, yeah.
Gold case. I would definitely play gold case for
gold
death.
Case is a lot.
Gold case,
you're
no
going to win
question.
gold case.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, however unlikely.
How many parachutes? How many good
I wouldn't
parachutes?
do it for 5 parachutes for $5 million. If the money amount stayed the same, I would do it for 20 parachutes.
You take a 1 in 20 chance at death. Do you think you could
for $5 million?
Are you thinking that you could practice beforehand, like practice like a little swoop at the end, so maybe you don't die on impact?
20 to 1, and only 3 of us doing it. I think.
Oh, hold on, but who goes first?
Well,
like, does Gary go first, and I get to see whether his parachute
works?
works?
No. I think
or is it that we each have a pool?
You each have your own set.
Yeah, you
each
have
5.
your own set.
So you're all taking the same risk.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going around the table with a revolver and like me and Norm clicked on an empty chamber.
No fucking way.
So now your odds look really bad.
No, there's no way.
But 20 shoots, 20 to 1 with $5 million. I think. I think it's.
No, I wouldn't do it. I value my life more than that.
If I could practice
you
a
would do 100 to 1.
What?
100 parachutes. 100.
And how much money is involved?
$5 million.
I wouldn't get out of bed for that.
Gary has much better earnings potential than us. It's a good question. I'm going to move on to the next one.
If it was something else like I became emperor of the world,
Lex Luthor,
like something I could really have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, you do. 5 to 1.
I'd consider
5 to 1 for emperor of the
5 to 1
world.
is still. I don't like the odds still. Because again,
7 to 1.
Again, I just keep coming back to Russian roulette, and I can't imagine any scenario where you'd get me to pick up that gun and pull the trigger. And the parachutes is just a fancy way of saying that.
But a 20 to 1, a 20 chamber revolver.
It's a really ridiculously oversized revolver.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nutty. No, I don't think I would do it.
Man,
and I think, and again, I think even if I said I would, if it became real, I wouldn't do it.
You think you'd back out?
Once it became a real thing, no.
See, I don't think I would do it either. I mean, maybe the Howie Mandel thing.
So the guy didn't have a real question, right? That was just a
he's
giving
would you rather.
He
just gave us a would you rather, which I approve of.
Okay.
Next question.
Hello everyone, my name's Robert and I'm from a small town in England called Staines in the county of Middlesex. First, a bit of hometown trivia. Staines was a world-famous producer of kitchen linoleum until the 1970s when the factories were shut down. I've just pre-ordered an iPad 3 and I've got a stack of Blu-rays and DVDs I want to watch on there. I know I can rip the DVDs without much issue. However, what's the best software for ripping Blu-ray discs as Handbrake doesn't support them yet? Finally, a would you rather. Would you rather eat nothing but gummy bears or nothing but jelly beans for the rest of your life? Thanks for the advice and keep on testing.
See, that's the call you should have hyped up. That guy has the most soothing...
I fell asleep halfway through.
Yeah, it's like...
Linoleum. What the heck? Is linoleum?
Linoleum, which in England is often known simply as lino. We just call it lino.
Oh, that's what lino is?
That's what lino is. It's
I never knew.
It's short for linoleum.
Lineolum, you mean?
Lineolum.
Did you say it lineolum?
He also didn't tell you the other great piece of course Staines trivia, which is that's where Ali G is from.
Really?
He's from Staines. Yeah.
Like Ali G the character, or...
Well, I don't think Sacha Baron Cohen is from there. I think
Okay.
the character he created is fictionally
That's
from
good to know.
Staines.
Okay.
In fact, I believe like the people of Staines and like Staines Council were quite unhappy that
Yeah,
became
I would
the
be pissed.
That became the association.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good for the tourism board.
Make
MKV.
First of all, the answer. Yeah, make MKV for
For the real question.
yes, and the fake question.
We have a
jelly
how-to,
beans,
but
absolutely
it's
jelly
all-
beans, because you can have different flavors. Gummy bears all taste the same, even though they're easier to chew and more fun to chew. Jelly beans,
But you can get gummy bears that are fortified with vitamins and stuff.
You can get jelly beans.
I
with
get my
fortified
I take
Really?
fiber gummies.
Yeah, that's weird, but okay.
They all taste the same though.
Oh,
I love gummy
Bananas is
beans.
getting
I could eat
fed.
a whole.
I like
jar.
gummy- I like gummy bears.
right now.
You know,
Do you like jelly
gummy-
babies?
Ooh, gummy beans.
What are jelly babies?
You never had a jelly baby?
No,
Oh my goodness.
I don't delve into the candy arts that often.
Philistines.
What you know, Norm, what Chloe's doing right now?
Eating?
She's eating.
I'm so hungry.
You do look hungry. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks to everyone who wrote in. If you have questions, it's podcast@tested.com. We'll be back next week with another fabulous episode of This Is Only a Test. Thank you, as always, Gary Whitta and Norm Chan. Gary, you have an appearance on the PC Gamer podcast to plug.
Yeah, actually, I just came from the PC Gamer podcast this morning.
Which is why we're recording so late.
2 podcasts in a day. I'm sorry for holding you guys up.
2 podcasts, one.
But I haven't been, as you know, I used to be the editor-in-chief of PC Gamer, but I haven't been on their podcast for a long time. But I made an exception this week because I've been very interested in the whole Mass Effect Shepardgate, the whole Mass Effect ending controversy, which has really blown up in the last few days, and a lot of people are unhappy with the ending, and it's all very controversial. And I think it has very big and important implications for the future of games as an art form and storytelling, interactive storytelling. It's a really fascinating subject. So I went into PC Gamer this week and was part of a big, what I thought was a very interesting discussion.
They had a
about all
round
these
table.
Yeah, a very interesting discussion, and that podcast will be up very soon, I believe, probably by the same time.
It's a
that this one is
race.
up. And I will tweet a link to it when it's available. If you're interested in Mass Effect or interactive storytelling and games as art, we had a really interesting discussion. So that's my plug for this week.
Norm, anything to plug? Come to Tested.
Tested.com. We're gonna shoot a video. I don't want to talk about it right now on this weekend. It'll be a fun video.
Something awesome would pre up like Wednesday or something next week, probably.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
probably Wednesday. I mean, Joey's back. We're shooting a lot of video now. We did post up a thread in the forums for you to ask questions about the new site. And I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to address those questions yet. We definitely will, either in a future podcast or in some type of live video.
We might just do a question cast or a
yeah,
jar,
exactly.
not a jar, no jars allowed, something like that.
Yeah, we'll do a question cast. And I think that's it. And I don't think we're doing fake outtakes today. Doesn't mean that segment's.
Hold on, I want to talk. I have some.
Wait, there's a couple of things we want to talk about.
I
know you're hungry, Norm, but that you can't go subverting the status quo.
I was going
here.
to blame
the natural order of things is that we talk about the end of the show. I play some music. And then fake outtakes.
And you saw what he tried to do. He tried to trick you.
Yeah.
He tried to Jedi mind trick you into thinking this was the end of the show.
This is the end of the show.
Unfortunately, we are not weak-minded.
Right.
Or not as weak-minded as we would need to be to fall for that.
Today's outro song comes from the Maddened Man. Here it is. Hi there, I didn't see you.
We're broadcasting to all intelligent life in the universe, and to the rest of you, the secret is to bang the rocks together.
I feel a bit guilty about that because someone who doesn't know
You lifted it.
the full context.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I mean, if you listen to the full quote, I say that that's a great line from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I wouldn't want people to listen to that and think that I came up with that gag.
Well, now that
I didn't. That's
now
Douglas
that you've
Adams.
said that, everything's good.
Good.
We're all out in the open because I'm never going to run it again. It's gone. I just erased it from the soundboard. Thanks, Madden Men, for making Gary look like a rip-off artist. I want to just say it must be you guys are lucky because you have new pop filters today. But the pop filter, in case you don't know, is the thing that you put between the microphone and your mouth so that when you say things like it doesn't make a horrible noise into the screen. I don't.
If you're listening to the audio-only version of this
Norm
podcast,
is
you're not
making incredible gestures.
You're not privy to the fantastic shadow play that is going on here.
I'm just. Norm was pantomiming. Give me a Diet Coke or.
While that was playing, I went off and got myself a Diet Coke, and Norm saw it and tried to mime to me. Oh, that looks great. I think. Can you get me one?
I would like a warm Diet Coke too.
I'm fine. If you want one, get it yourself.
I think at this point, if you
I'll
put a bowl,
I'll get it for Norm.
If you put a bowl of dog food in front of Norm,
I will give him mine.
He would probably eat it right now.
Another one.
He is so hungry, suffering Norman Chan. His hand is shaking as he drinks this Diet Coke. It is, that has absolutely no nutritive value at all. Does nothing for you.
Well, the caffeine could suppress his appetite.
So you guys have virgin pop filters. I'm even going to go so far as to label those microphones. So you always use this. The benefit of being the only people in the office, a.k.a. my house, is that now we don't have to share equipment with anybody else. Except for this one, which Ryan Davis and Tony and everybody else used.
I never even knew what these were, and I never understood the benefit of them. But I did another podcast recently that didn't have them.
No.
And, you notice it.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, the popping.
I just licked mine.
Gross.
And the ones that we used to have were kind of gross, and they had like holes and runs in them, like the little.
Well, they were
the
4 years
mesh.
old. They don't last forever.
These are lovely and nice and great.
Well, the thing is, you get right up on them because you got to get into the mic, so it's like you don't.
And they're bigger.
It's not something you want to share necessarily.
Yeah, so I like this. It was last week when we didn't have them yet.
Yeah,
and I could really notice the difference when I was listening to the podcast.
We were also using the wrong kind of mic for podcasting.
Yeah, it was. That was amateur hour.
Vocal. I apologize.
Yeah.
We went to Bricks by the Bay this weekend.
Oh yeah.
We haven't
Norm
even
almost didn't make it.
Yeah. Oh, so
you had the amazing race this weekend.
Continuation of the story I told earlier about my delayed flight or canceled flight. Originally, the plan was wake up at 4:30 a.m., take a super shuttle, get to the airport, John Wayne Airport. Which
I think it's wrong that they call that shuttle the super shuttle because it has never ever been super.
Oh, it was perfectly on time for me. They gave me a window of between like 5:10 and 5:20, and it was there right at 5:10.
You took the Chud bus to the airport?
It usually ends
up... It was
up...
$10 plus tip. A taxi would have been $50.
It's from the Anaheim Convention
Center? Disneyland.
$22 at the outside.
I did the calculation online.
You did it wrong.
Well, the super shuttle is fine.
Ugh.
And I had a new iPad with Verizon 4G, so I guess
that's really liberating.
But you always end up going like if you're in the last spot, it's fine. But if you're the first person, you have to go like with 50 million other stops.
You gotta make all those
awful.
stops. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's awful.
Anyway, I was in the middle of the pack.
Usually somebody gets in and has horrible BO. It's just bad.
Yeah, I was kind of uncomfortable with all those people.
And this was touch and go because Norm had to put his flight back because he was concerned about missing his iPad delivery on Friday.
Yeah. So
You
flight.
You came at my house. You came over to my house to get. I sold you my old smart cover,
which I'm using right now.
And Norm came over, and he's all in a state.
And because
my iPad still hasn't arrived, and I've got to leave in an hour.
The weather was terrible on Friday. We just shot the ticket apart.
Yeah.
And I got a text message when I was at your house.
Yeah.
The phone buzzed. I said, "That's got to be Wes."
Right.
With the iPad.
And you had some false alarms, right? Because the FedEx guy had come to the house, but to deliver something else.
Psych.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got the iPad, flew down to Anaheim, did WonderCon. Sunday morning, had the whole flight problem. I was supposed to get back at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to go home, take a shower. Not taking a shower. Get a good brunch at the Cliff House. Then go spend a nice day at Bricks by the Bay.
If everything had gone according to plan, you actually had a great
it would have been a perfect day.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
But it did not go according to plan.
Whiffed.
Flight canceled.
So this was after the hard stop on the runway.
Hard stop on the runway. Everyone got off. Veronica was on that flight.
Right.
They took everyone, told everyone go back to the ticket counters.
Veronica went off and started drinking margaritas or Bloody Marys at the airport bar.
And the United people were like, "Oh, okay, it's obviously their fault."
I gotta say,
it's not a weather problem. Perfect weather that morning.
I gotta say, it was a little weird that you misidentified Bloody Marys as margaritas.
Well,
I'm disappointed in you, Chan.
You can have a red margarita though.
Yeah. Not red margaritas.
It was
are
a
usually
bad
pinker,
Twitter picture.
Though. Okay.
And there was salt It looked like salt around the rim. So went back to the ticket counter, and I ran to the ticket counter. Didn't even go to the bathroom.
Are you like in a high state of anxiety because you realize you're going to miss your Bricks by the Bay?
Yeah.
So Bricks by the Bay is a Lego
convention. Annual
happens in
Santa
Clara.
In Bay Area. And the United person said, the earliest flight we can get you is 1 a.m. the next morning.
Unacceptable.
I can't do that. That's not good. And people,
denied.
There's like 200 people waiting to have their flights rebooked.
Oh, my God.
And this is where technology is really amazing because I'm standing in the line. I can hear that 10 people ahead. And I know
You're boned.
There aren't that many flights out.
Right.
Like, this is a scheduling thing. Had the iPhone, brought it out, went to southwest.com, went to flights.google to see if there are any other flights.
Mm-hmm.
No. Southwest.com paid the $200 to take a 12:30 flight to get back in San Francisco, scheduled to get
Had
back.
you checked bags or were you carry on?
Carry on.
Nice
Always
job.
Carry on.
No.
He's exactly right.
No. I'm saying
amateurs
always
check bags.
Always do carry on. You used to be a bag checker. I fixed that.
I maybe used to be a bag
Yeah,
checker.
we went to CES one year and you brought a Viterman bag.
Yeah, I did used to be a bag checker.
Yeah.
Amateurs.
You're welcome, Chen. You're welcome.
Booked my flight, 12:30 flight, get back at 2. Bricks by the Bay, last entry is at 3 o'clock.
Right.
Convention closed at 4.
Right.
You guys were there at noon.
We were actually standing by the door.
We were
telling
ready to
security
leave.
guys.
Well, here's the thing. My flight landed at 2:05. SFO is 40 miles away from Santa Clara.
26 miles away.
Google Maps said 36 minutes, 40 miles.
Okay.
Anyway.
Had to run straight from the airplane to the shuttle to get to the parking lot.
You
where
parked
my
in
car
long term,
was.
didn't you?
Long-term parking, which took me further away from
Rook.
Santa Clara.
Rook move.
Drove incredibly fast. I don't know how I did it, but got basically at the door right at 3:05.
Yeah, you just barely made it. And we had already, at that point, because we'd been there for a few hours, had already looked around. It actually worked out great, though, because by the time you got there, the convention was starting to empty out.
Yep.
Yeah.
When like, some of the more impressive building structures, whatever, were like 3 deep to get
more
a good
than
look
that in
at.
some cases. Yeah.
And by the time Norm got there, it was very easy to rush around and see everything quickly with no crowds.
And I had a team of people who had pre-scouted the convention floor.
Yeah, we were your street team.
You said take me to the 10 best things, and we were able to do that.
Yeah.
And there was some amazing stuff there.
Yeah,
photos will go up online tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. So big gallery full of pictures coming soon to tested.com. What else do we got? We got Gary. You're making more ill-advised purchases in your near future. It seems
I'm always making ill-advised
making poor
purchases.
financial choices.
Oh, by the way, I felt the baby kick for the first time last night.
Congratulations, man! That's awesome.
Amazing.
So
it was crazy.
It's like the Aliens, but good.
It's not quite. Apparently, it will get to the point where you can actually observe.
Yeah,
like,
see, like
the
a hand.
the things protruding under the belly in like full chest burster style.
Yeah, when you see like 5 fingers, 4 fingers and a thumb,
or the face, like in the Fright Night.
Well, it's been annoying for me because Leah can feel it all the time because it's inside her.
Yeah.
So she can feel it all the time. So I just felt it kick, and it's been happening more and more as the baby gets bigger and more aggressive.
Did that make it real?
More aggressive.
Like feeling.
But she would say, "Oh, I can feel the baby kick," and I would put my hand on her belly, and I can't feel anything because it's not. It's enough for her to feel it inside, but not from externally. And then finally, she said, we were laying in bed last night, and she said, "It's kicking quite a bit right now. Like if you put your hand there, you can probably feel it." And I put my hand there, and like nothing for like 30 seconds, and I just felt this tiny little flutter. And I'm like, I don't know if that's real or imagined. She's like, no, I felt it as well. That was the real thing. I was like, it was such a tiny thing, but amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What's the ill-advised purchase you're talking about?
The N7 armor quest.
Oh, so like I don't know if I'm really going to go through this, but it seems like a fun thing to do. I don't give a fuck that I'm going to be 40 this year. I want to cosplay, and
you should. I'll take pictures of you.
I like Commander Shepard, and this is now my life goal. I want a full set of N7 armor.
Well, the beautiful thing about cosplaying Commander Shepard is your Shepard looks like whatever you want it to be. So my Shepard looks like me.
Yes,
your Shepard looks like you.
My Shepard looks like me, albeit probably with a shaved crew cut haircut. So at least try and approximate.
Well, you could shave
your.
I mean, if you want to go all the way,
very easy.
You can crew cut your hair.
Yeah, dye it black, and even put that little hair scar in there that he has.
Oh, sorry, Chloe.
I mean, I could really go all out. So I started to. I don't have the skills to do this myself, so I started looking around like who could I find. And I actually started chatting just yesterday with Kelly Conrad, who people who follow this may know. She's the femme shep.
Holly Conrad.
Conrad. Kelly Conrad is from the
I'm thinking
game.
of Kelly Chambers.
Yeah, Kelly Chambers.
My apologies. Holly Conrad.
Wow.
Who is well known as one of the top Mass Effect cosplay.
Yeah,
she built her own FemShep armor. We've seen her at PAX.
At WonderCon. She's the star, one of the stars of the documentary that Morgan Spurlock did about Comic-Con. She's the designer there.
Yeah. So she's
and wasn't she also at PAX last year? Was that
she
was one of the
hired by BioWare and EA to do promotion.
Yeah. So she's very well known, and her armor is very impressive. And so I found her online, and I said, "Would you be interested in building me some armor?" And she said, "Yeah, let's talk about it." So we're going to get into that process, and it could be very interesting.
Can we document this?
Well, we've talked. I think it would make some great content for the site.
I would love to have that on the site.
I want to know what
the whole design and fabrication process.
How involved can you get?
She's down in Southern California, so I'm not sure. This is just one option, by the way. There are other people that make armor, but I think she is probably the best.
If you want customized armor.
She's not just someone that will make stuff and sell it. She's a real fan.
Yeah.
And so, it remains to be seen. I think, if she's up for it and we actually end up, and I end up not backing off from this and deciding that it's worth doing, I think this would be an interesting
maybe we'll set up a weekly thing or something where she can kind of check
do a little progress blog. N7 Armor Quest 2012.
Gary Witta is the great enabler.
Stop it, Gary.
What? I'm
going to contact Harrison.
Harrison makes guns,
I mean, that's the thing. Armor. I need a weapon as well. I actually I considered talking to Harrison as well about building armor, but I don't know if he can.
He did armor also.
I bet he could.
He did.
His stuff looked unbelievable.
Yeah. So I've got a number of
which rifle would you get?
I'd want the M8 because that to me is
the Avenger.
That to me is the classic.
That's the Mass Effect gun.
That to me is the quintessential. And you haven't seen this yet. There is a guy, I just saw this today when I was at PC Gamer. Logan showed me an Omni tool.
Oh my God.
Which had been cut out of
fiberglass.
This fluorescent.
No, it's
acrylic.
Perspex.
It was it was Perspex acrylic. Let me see if I can find you a picture. It looked. Short of actually creating a holographic thing.
You might not have been with us.
It was amazing.
But I'm pretty sure we saw that last year at PAX because it blew me. I was stunned. It looked really, really
And I think
good
actually
in person.
Holly has an Omni tool, and I think she's got something, if not exactly this, something very similar to it. So I'm gonna endeavor to find it and show it to Norm.
Is your Shepherd a what class is your Shepherd?
Soldier.
So why does he have an Omni tool? Does Soldier Shepherd have an Omni tool?
All Shepherds have Omni tools.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, it's a melee weapon, if nothing else.
Yeah. Oh, it's the stabby. Okay, they use it for the stab. Okay, how does a okay, I'm not going to get into that.
Okay, here it is.
Force fields.
I'm going to show.
The answer is force fields.
I'm going to show it to Norm right now. Yeah, I mean, it's like a kinetic.
Because showing this to Norm is fantastic podcast content.
Well, I just want Norm to see it. There it is.
What was the best?
Very impressive.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking about that. I don't know how much it's going to cost. Holly may come back to me and say, "Well, if you want like that level of quality, whatever, it's going to cost you like $5,000." I'm like, that's a bit more than I wanted to spend. But do you think it would be lame?
Are you going to be able to back down to that?
Do you think it would be lame, a man of my age, walking around a convention?
No.
Somebody said to me, if you're the kind of guy that can actually be on a panel at Comic-Con, like a professional or creator, which I flatter myself to think I am, you shouldn't be in for example, just obviously a totally different level, but if Joss Whedon was walking around in N7 armor, people would think that's kind of ludicrous.
But doesn't Joss Whedon walk around?
So cool.
Doesn't Joss Whedon walk around in like mask armor so he can walk the floor?
I want to be the first person to cross that divide.
Well, like Kevin Smith used to walk around in Stormtrooper uniform, so he could like walk the floor and hang out at Comic-Con.
No, but you want to have people recognize you for who you are, and also
I don't know. I think anonymity might be nice if you're instantly recognizable. Like
next
Joss
con
Whedon.
we go to, let's all cosplay.
I'm not gonna do that.
Fine, Will.
Let's all do it. I'm much more likely to do it if we do it.
Your beard.
I'm much more likely to do it if we do it as a group.
I will do it.
What would you want to be?
I have to think about what costume I want to be.
I got a Sulu outfit.
Isn't that a bit obvious?
Too easy, man.
Fine.
The Sulu outfit is the slave Leia of Star Trek.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It just seems like a bit easy for you.
It is.
Racist. Racist.
You're playing into a fairly obvious stereotype. I don't know. It'd be fun to do something.
I got to think about it, but I
might be convinced if I can find something that isn't going to be ridiculous.
I might do it for Comic-Con, July 12th.
Well, you wore a Kirk shirt to Comic-Con one year, right?
I don't think I very much doubt that I could have armor built in time for that.
You know, who knows?
Maybe it's PAX East next year. Who knows?
Well, I can't go to PAX Prime this year. And I'm probably not going to go to Comic-Con, so I actually don't even know where, unless I'm like sitting around the house in my N7 armor, which I'm not ruling out.
I can see that.
I don't really know where I would wear it.
There are plenty.
Are you going to get the light up kind and the whole 9 yards?
Well, so there's one guy online that has there is a power system that runs through it, and the back lights up and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I really want.
Do you do the helmet?
If I'm doing, no, I don't need a helmet. If I'm doing this though, I'm going all in. I'm not doing like the amateur hour version. Like it's gonna look good.
Well, because we were talking about this before the show, but like one of the things that strikes me every time you go to one of those exhibitions where you can see props from movies and stuff like that, because you always think movie props are gonna look better than anything you've ever seen.
They don't look.
The stuff Harrison brought to Big Live Show last year looks way better than any movie prop I have ever seen.
Right.
Because the movie props just look as good as they need to look
because it has
for film.
To. Yes.
Yep.
Right. You look at movie props often, they're seen very fleetingly, and the lighting and all the stuff that goes into a movie process makes it look better than it really is. And you see those real life props that was actually in the movie and you go, oh, that doesn't actually look that good. The master replicas and the sideshow collectible type stuff that they do actually has to be better than what's really in the film, but it has to stand up to a much closer level of scrutiny.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. I think Adam does cosplay at Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he usually walk around in disguise, and if people find him or something, then there's a prize or something?
I don't think people find him.
I would say probably not, but maybe.
One of my biggest regrets 2 years ago at Comic-Con was not buying the limited edition Weta full-scale replicas of the District 9 guns, because they designed the graphics for that movie.
Oh, that's kind of crazy.
And they had the Alien guns, and they weren't even that expensive. Super limited, sold out everywhere.
People have been asking a lot about the posters. So about what were the posters in the background where we're shooting these days. We're shooting in your living room, Norm.
Yep.
I don't know how much you want to talk about this. I apologize if you don't.
But one of the things I'm obsessed with is limited edition movie posters and art posters. And I buy most of them from mondotees.com,
which
and most of those that I have are sold out immediately, so you cannot buy them unless you buy bootleg versions.
How do you do you just get up the moment they go on sale?
The last one I got was a
tickets?
Back to the Future one, and usually what happens is Mondo News, the Twitter account for them.
Okay.
The guy Justin, I think is his name, will tweet the link to the store when it's available at a random time of day. Usually it's in the morning. So the last one I did for the Back to the Future one was wake up at 6 a.m. and refresh Twitter until he posted it, and then quickly click the link.
Obsessive.
And bought it.
Is what you're saying.
And then they did a gallery at South by Southwest last week, and I had a friend in Austin who went to the gallery and bought posters for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we'll ship them over.
So the ones behind are Ollie Moss posters, Star Wars posters that were
released
like a
2
year
years
and a half ago.
ago.
2 years ago.
2 Christmases ago.
They're really hard to find, and they're like $1,500 to get the whole set now on eBay, and probably will start disappearing soon, I would guess.
Yes.
So I think they're really rad. And I guess that'll do it for us today, unless you have anything else, Gary.
Not really. I was just going to segue back to lusting over some of those out of production Lego sets that we saw at by the Bay. They had the Taj Mahal, which as we know is the biggest set Lego's ever made. Can't get it anymore. They had one there, $7,000 for that set.
No, $700.
Oh, sorry, $700.
$7,000.
I'm still in like N7 armor crazy mode. $700 is still.
It was a $400
crazy.
set, so it's not like even cost per brick. It's
it was
actually
a good value compared to what you'll pay in the open market on eBay or whatever for.
Yeah,
it.
but the thing
but
about
it's still a lot of money.
As I was sitting there looking at it, thinking, $700. That doesn't seem like that much. A guy walked up and was talking to Gina, and I was like, it's a pretty good kit, but it's not. It's a little boring. It's very repetitive, and it's all. The problem with it is it's all one color brick. So it's one of the things I don't like about the architecture sets is that it seems like it's a little bit.
The low end architecture sets are all one color. Not
even like Roby House is only 2 or 3 colors, right?
Right, but there's still more than
I would
one.
much rather have the Ultimate Collector Series Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And you got to play with the Ultimate R2D2, right? And you wrote that up.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
$180 out in May. It's very cool. I think a few of us in this room are going to buy one.
One of the things that was interesting is in the comments, because we posted a story about it, is people said this is what the best thing about nothing being off topic anymore is that we go to a Lego con and we see the new R2D2 Lego kit, which is rad.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it on the site instead of just putting it at the end of the podcast like we did today.
Right.
People were saying that the top looks not round because it's bricks. It's, instead of being like a custom piece, it's made out of a whole bunch of little bricks. In person, the pictures called much more attention to the edges than it looks like in person.
I think it looks better in person.
It looked really good.
Yeah, they could have done special curved pieces, I guess.
I like the way they did it though.
No, it's kind of old
I
school.
thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And like a
and
bunch
some
of
great
stuff
little features. Yeah,
it's a nice size. The center leg goes up and down.
Yeah,
the buzzsaw comes out. It has the data port. It's
my
awesome.
favorite thing about that encounter though, because there was an official guy from Lego, whose job it was to take this thing around and show it to people. And he's this guy, like a Lego ambassador that goes out and debuts these new products. And the R2D2 is nice, but what I really want is this rumored UCS B-Wing.
Yeah.
Because the B-Wing is my favorite ship in Star Wars universe.
Yeah, of course. It's the coolest.
They used to make one. They don't anymore. I actually looked around Bix by the Bay to see if there was any on sale. There weren't. And so I said to the guy, I've heard a rumor that there is a UCS B-Wing coming. Can you tell me more about it? And he said, I don't know anything about that. I cannot tell you anything other than...
Oh, you might get this guy in trouble.
No, it's fine.
No, he said
okay.
He just said something like, I don't know anything about that. But he said it. I can't remember exactly.
No,
what
he said, I know everything about that.
Oh, that's right.
But I can't tell you anything about
He
it.
said, yeah. He basically, he's just like, yeah. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I just can't tell anything about it.
I know
everything.
everything.
Like a secret handshake or anything afterwards with
nothing.
a twirl and like a little
Let's
bee
keep it
symbol
that way.
drawn in your pawn.
So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's well, it's the torpedo bomber of the Star Wars universe. It's designed to take down capital.
It's a heavy bomber, yeah, it's a great ship. And I just love the design of it. I just thought it was one of the more elegant and more original ship designs.
It was my favorite toy, my favorite of the Kenner toys when I was a kid.
Oh my god, I never had one.
Oh,
so
it's
this is,
fantastic.
I mean, it's such an unrequited, unfulfilled thing for me. I've never owned. I used to have one. I used to have all kinds of Star Wars toys, but I never had the B-Wing, which is my favorite of all time.
See, for me, the AT-AT was that. I had the X-Wing and the Y-Wing. Never had an A-Wing for whatever reason, but the B-Wing and the A-Wing, like the A-Wing and the AT-AT, I always wanted something fierce, but I got an Ewok Village instead.
Speaking of Lego, one story we didn't talk about was the Universal
robot
connection kit.
Yeah.
The free Universal connection kit.
Yeah, Adam wrote that up for the site. It was really good.
Yes. So this
free Universal connection kit.
Oh, that's good to know.
Should have done an acronym for that.
Yeah. So I think this organization called the Free Art and Design or Art and Technology.
Free art and technology.
Free Art and Technology. The FAT. They release designs for user printed connectors that can make your Legos play well with your Lincoln Logs and your Connects.
So yeah, it lets you join up all the different kind of building toys that are all in their own universes into one giant ecosystem of building stuff.
That's kind of cool.
Which was really cool. And it's all 3D printable. So you can either print them yourself or you can send it to someplace like Shapeways or something like that and print it there if you don't have access to a 3D printer. So I thought that was pretty rad.
That's great.
So I guess that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Hopefully we'll have RSS feeds working by then. If you figured out how to download this podcast, you'll probably be okay, though. We'll see you all later. Bye. And video is still live. That was really loud.
What was that?
It's Pacifica, man. It's Thursday.
That was a very large explosion.
It's Thursday. It's Firework Thursday in Pacifica.